following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Hi, I'm Michael Conti, driver of the number 5 4Front Chevy, and you're watching iRacing Live.
Tonight from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series gets ever so closer to the start of the playoffs with just 3 races left on the regular season. Drivers are down trackside getting set for tonight's contest and one of the final warm-up sessions. So as we prepare to go racing tonight from the Magic Mile, let's take a step back and look to 2 weeks ago from Chicagoland in this week's iRacing Race Recap. We're happy that you're with us on a Tuesday night on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing eSports Network. American Ethanol green flag in the air. We're off and away from Chicagoland. Round 10 of the 2018 NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series. And no problem for Jarl Tien. Pole sitter in the 3 to take off. First time through 1 and 2. And down the back stretch. Not that back straight. Into turn number 3 and 3 in front of the traffic. First battle for third on track. Here comes Davies trying to squeeze up the inside of Shelton. With a run off the corner, looks like he might be able to defend with a completion of lap number 1. We have seen a little bit of pit stop action. Jarl Tien and Ray Alfala have been already now headed down to the pit lane. They've gone off with the lead lap, obviously. In doing so, you'll see an extreme speed difference. Look at how Alfala
15 cars spun. 15 cars. Zach Novak was trying to come down pit road, and he spun around. He gets it back going and facing the wrong way, so some problems with people coming down towards pit road. It's seemed to me, watching this one, he sort of had it straight and set up. He locked up a rear tire, pretty much just slid that car right into the grass, and ended up doing a nice little 360. I think that's probably the quickest recovery I've seen from someone spinning on pit entry ever. Yeah, so it's been either the 55 or the 83, it seems like, all season. He'd be the drivers who really get involved in some of that drama. I will say, I mean, Ray Alfala, we've only been green for a few laps. He's already pretty much driven his way through the field, and as the bulk of the recovery done, as we get a caution here, probably something down on the back straightaway.
Looks like Brandon Pitcraft in the 29 Novak. And Zach Novak in the 15 involved in this one. Both of those cars took a trip down and into the grass. The race leaders are going to be headed down to the pit lane, but for Ray Alfala and Ryan Lewis, this is a big loss for those cars because they had gotten back up to 10th and 11th position, Randy, but everybody else in front of them who had yet to pit are coming down pit road with them. So they have effectively given away those positions, and the call by Novak and Vincent and all of these other cars to stay out and stretch it, that could be a race-changing decision. There's already a race off of the pit lane, and it is not even going to be close. Zach Novak was the first car down pit road by a mile. He'll get his 4 tires and fuel and just stroll back onto the racetrack. There goes the pace car, and there goes Zach Novak. 5 to go. We race for the win from Chicago.
And they're nearly 4 wide per second into turn 1. Now they're making it 3. Filthy as Bobby Zielinski and Ryan Luza from top to bottom in towards corner number 1. Luza's going to hold on to it. Bobby Zielinski gets himself up to 3rd. Maybe makes a little bit of a touch with the 9 of Phil Diaz. He's trying to hold it on the outside of these two. Bobby looks down to the bottom on Ryan Luza. Nothing going to go there as Diaz tries to hold the top. The 83 is checked in, and he wants to take full advantage of his opportunity to maximize points.
Luza through the block. He had to keep Bobby Zelensky behind him, so he didn't make up much time on Novak that last time around. But he has moved into the number 2 position. A car length between first and second on the racetrack. How much time do we have left? Coming to 3 laps to go the next time. Here comes Luza, looking but not yet firing. He'll stay on the back bumper. Looks to go high, but he loosens himself up. He caught the apron. It's going to hurt Luza off the corner.
And all of a sudden, Bobby Zelensky is right with them. 3 cars battling for the lead at Chicago.
Rolls free and sparks as they head back off at 1 and 2 as both your first and second placed cars scrape the wall as they went off and into the corner. There it is, caution flag with 2.5 laps left on the scoring pylon. All that means, though, is Zach Novak hangs on and he will pace to victory in Joliet.
Oh, that was late.
Hey guys! This week, the 6 on my team are Truex, Logano, Larson, Blaney, Chase, and Suarez. For the rest of you, better luck next week.
She's missing out, dude. Yeah.
The all-new NASCAR Fantasy Live. Visit NASCAR.com/fantasy and build your team today.
The road to $10,000 heads through the Granite State, where tonight from Loudon, New Hampshire, in the virtual New Hampshire Motor Speedway, plays host to the 11th race of this 2018 season. As we say, good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to RaceSpot TV's continuing coverage of the 2018 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series on the iRacing eSports Network. As always, myself, Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, Randy Chennett, upstairs with you, our director Hugo Louise downstairs getting us to you this evening. And as we said before we took a look back to Chicago, Tim, we come into tonight just this evening, Pocono and Bristol. 3 races to go until we go playoff racing in 2018. I think we've finally reached the point where we start crunching the numbers here and get serious.
And 3 unique different racetracks to really set that up into the playoffs. This one's going to be exciting tonight. It's a flat racetrack. It's a 1-mile racetrack. You're going to see some drivers rise to the top that you might not usually see go to the top of the board. I'm excited to see, and we might even see what we did on Sunday. Might even see that bumper being used. We saw it last year, too.
And we saw it in an exciting finish last year where Ryan Luza went to take the win. You saw the highlights just a moment ago from Chicago. Zach Novak takes a victory headed into this evening. And Randy, talking about the points here just before we started, Bobby Zelensky enters tonight as your championship leader with 323 points on top of Ray Alfala, who's gone quite a little bit of time, as he said, with a top 5 finish. They'll look to break that streak tonight. The likes of Keegan Leahy, Matt Booster, Nicholas Shelton looking pretty. But when you look to the tail end of the top 5 of the points and you get around that cutoff, things are awfully tight with 3 races to settle it.
Definitely are. I mean, and like you said, Bobby being the points leader is an interesting surprise coming out of the last race, considering the year that he has had has been up and down and up and down. But you're right, things getting tight around that cutoff. It's, you know, you got the likes of Andra at 264 points, Conti at 267, Luza at 271 because he's missed a handful of races, Shelton at 279, Clampett at 263, Challoner at 258. Things are going to be tight over these next 3 races. We get ready to grid them up for 150 laps here at Loudon.
It should be a fun night. Cool conditions from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Let's go down trackside. Introduce you to your starting grid. We'll go top to bottom on RaceSpot TV, and it is going to be your race winner here from just 1 year ago, Ryan Michael Luzas. Starting on the pole position is 28.394, the best of all, and he will start in front and alongside Michael Conti, who rolls off in the number 2 position. Nick Ottinger, Brian Schoenberg, they'll make up row 2. That'll be 3rd, 4th starting position respectively. Tim and Jimmy Mullis is on the inside of row 3. That'll be P5.
Taylor Hurst likes these flat racetracks. Watch him roll from position number 6. Brad Davies, Matt Busa, Keegan Leahy, Ray Alfali, your top 10.
Getting into the depth of your field, Corey Vincent ends up in the 11th spot. Chris Shearburn in 12th. Andrew Fayash the 3rd and 13th. Christian Challoner in 14th. And Logan Clampett rounds out that top 15.
Darrell Tien's going to be in the number 16 position. Zach Novak, 17th. Bobby Zelensky, 18th position. He's got some work to do to defend the top spot in the points. In the back of row 10, it'll be David Rattler and Brandon Pipgrass at 19th and 20th.
Your next 5 include Nicholas Shelton in the number 12. You got Nolan Scott. Next up, Marcus Richardson, Colton Davis, and Michael Guest from 25th.
Rounding out the rest of the field, Blake Reynolds, Casey Tucker, Joe Letterello, Casey Kerwin, Derek Bordeaux, Ryan Lowe, Chris Overland, and Adam Gilliland.
Look top to bottom of your RaceSpot TV starting grid. The New Hampshire Motor Speedway clocks in just over a mile in length, so the mileage on tonight's 150-lap affair going to be just a little bit higher than that. But as the pace car gets set to dive down to the safety of the pit lane, as always, we're happy that you're spending a Tuesday night with us on RaceSpot TV on the iRacing eSports Network. American Ethanol, green flag in the air, and we are racing from New Hampshire, race 11, the 2018 clean up front, first time into 1 and 2.
It certainly didn't take long for Ryan Luza to take that top spot. Conti to 2nd. The battle rages on for 3rd. Brian Schoenberg loves this racetrack, loves this flat surface, and nearly won a couple of races here. He's in 3rd, and there's Nick Ottinger working to the inside of Hurst.
You can see that 05 machine up on the inside of the 74 machine, so that one going to be a side-by-side battle for the number 4 position on the racetrack right now. And you can see the 05 a little bit loose into the corner. It's very easy to do at this New Hampshire Motor Speedway. If you're way down on that yellow line, you're only looking with 2 degrees of banking. It's a little bit better as you go up that progressive banking as high as 7 degrees. But you can see these drivers, Randy, they're going to be about mid-track there all night long, almost keeping half the car up above the compound change that you could visibly see in the setup of the quarter. These cars, though, very easy to push. That inside a treacherous lane. Ottinger accepts the defeat in that battle. Hurst gets P4, and he'll tuck in line behind in 5th.
And the field up and down is pretty much getting themselves single-filed out at this point. Still some side-by-side deep in the field, but for the most part, everyone's running nose to tail. And that's what we expect typically here at New Hampshire. Sort of like you said, the fact that we have the variable banking that goes as high up the track as it does, sort of a semi-awkward racing line if you kind of just watch it and you're not used to watching cars here at New Hampshire. It all has to do with that banking. Very, very wide entry. You sort of dime it off the exit of the corner after drifting out wide mid-corner.
And even down at the different ends of the racetrack, you'll certainly see drivers, I think, in quarter 2 being a little bit more aggressive with that diamond off. They would like to, at least, but you're certainly going to see cars maybe struggling with the handling down at that end of the racetrack before they do shave it off a little bit more to get the run down the front straightaway. One other thing to note, 150 laps at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Tim, not that long of a race when you look at some of the other distances that these drivers will be running. Doesn't mean by any stretch of the imagination that it's a short race, but certainly you take a little bit, almost a run out of it or an extra trip down to the pit lane out of it than some of the longer races we see this season. So that might mean that intensity is going to be a little bit more amped up from the start. The fun conversation over the weekend was, is New Hampshire a short track? Well, it's over a mile in length, so I guess technically not, but it sure races like it into the corners as these guys get way down into the double digits in the center.
Yeah, absolutely. Does you really have to brake like it's a short track to get around the corner and make sure that you get off the corner without slapping that wall off of 2 and off of 4? You saw the look that Joe Letteriello had. That's a neat little look right now from about halfway through this pack. For the most part, everybody up front, single file, really biding their time right now, trying to get to that lap 75 mark, the halfway mark, and forward. But it looks like right now everybody is minding their P's and Q's and getting there. There's Zach Novak, the winner from 2 weeks ago, mired mid-pack right now. We're just outside the top 10.
He's in the middle of the Hornets' nest at the moment. Certainly drivers looking to spread out and get a little bit of space. Brad Davies just in that same part of the racetrack lost a couple of spots off of the corner. Looked like Corey Vincent, Logan Clampett, and Keegan Leahy. Even Zach Novak getting around him. So Davies way up and out of the groove in turns 1 and 2. And you just can't make up for that lost speed down the rather long straightaways here at New Hampshire. So he'll drop a few spots. He's actually down 6 for the start of this race. Currently running in 13th position. There's a battle for the race lead. Michael Conti took a dive to the inside, and that's not going to matter. Caution for the first time.
It looks like a bit of a pileup coming off corner number 2. I don't actually see which car went around, so if we can try to get that for us, it'd be great.
Thinking, no, the 77's okay. There was certainly smoke. I think it was the 3 of Jarl Tien who got a little bit of a tap. Looked like he and the 78 of Christian Challenger got together on the exit of quarter number 2. Really wasn't much of a wreck, though. You'll see right here on the RaceSpot TV replay, they'll go down into the corner at 78, dig it a little bit low, and he'll go to try to take that spot, and right there's going to be the contact off the corner. 78 actually keeps the 3 Tim from going all the way around, but at that point, the yellow flag had already come up. A lot of drivers hard on the brakes behind them, fearing that racetrack was going to get blocked, that it was going to get ugly. So not all that much going on, and an early caution flag.
And they fanned out 4 and 5 wide there trying to get on the binders, and that's one of those characteristics that we usually see at a short track as everybody comes down pit road. Something happens in front of you, you really have to try to dodge and avoid everything. Looks like we're going to have some early pit work.
Race leaders coming down to the pit lane very early on in this one. Could give an opportunity for somebody in that 10th position mid-range that Tim was talking about, Randy, to maybe go for a 2-tire call, mix things up. We'll see what the drivers want to go with this evening. Again, only about those 8 laps of green flag runs before the caution flag comes out. Lose your race leader. First driver in. He's got that number 1 pit stall. Right side's going up. Looks like he's going to go just the 2-tire call, but he might not win off of pit road. Brian Schoenberg may go 3rd to 1st. I think he got him.
I think that was a late call, actually, coming from that driver, the 6 of Ryan Michael Luther. The right sides went up, and then the drivers behind him, after they got in the box, I think he started hearing them revving those engines, and crew chief made a last-second decision to only make it 2 tires. I think the 6 was expecting to go for 4, chose not to at that last second, and so now we get everyone kind of coming out in stringed-out positions. Rail follows a big winner on that pit stop sequence, as well as Keegan Leahy up a number of spots as well.
And Schoenberg was the driver who we just thought, Tim, won that race off of the pit lane, the 55. You can see that slow car on the apron set of your screen. I believe that is Brian Schoenberg, who was hit with a speeding penalty on pit lane exit for giving it just a little bit too much to win that race to the line. And if that is the case, you can see he's dropping all the way to the back of the field for that penalty. Your race leader now becomes the number 5 of Michael Conti. Only ends up really losing that 1 position on what it might have been that late audible call, and he'll be outside of the front row.
But the great thing is now is we get to see Brian Schoenberg, who is really good at this racetrack, come from the rear of the field all the way back up to the front. So this one's going to be exciting, not only for Michael Conti and Ryan Lucy. Yeah, we're going to see a battle up in front, but keep a half eye on that double nickel as he comes from the rear of the field.
Lights already off on top of the iRacing.com official pace car, so race start this time by Conti in control for the inside of the front row. The 5 does get to dictate. When we go back to green flag racing, not a whole lot of time to play with, though. Let's see what the 5's decision as the pace car goes down and in. Only 11 laps complete, but it's a great jump for the inside. Conti got plenty of space to turn 1, and here comes Jimmy Mullis up from row number 2. He wants to fight for 2nd.
Going to fight with this 2nd spot with that 6 of Ryan Michael Luther through corner number 2. We got a car spinning in the back, though. Going to get our 2nd caution of the night. Who's that that's around? David Rattler. Likely had a little bit of help with this one going in towards turn number 1. I think he got a shot from the 12 of Nick Shelton. Actually, no, he gave a shot to a car out in front of him and then basically got bounced backwards. So 2nd half spin of the night brings out our 2nd yellow.
And it just looked like a simple accordion effect going into the corner. It wasn't like 3, 4, 5 cars in front of him got stacked up. I think the 16 got on the brakes a little bit quick. Here's the onboard. You'll see right there. It gets into the back of him. He then gets a shot from behind, and it's really difficult to regain control of that car because how flat it is. There's no banking or lateral grip to help you out, and luckily enough for him, he just puts the brakes on it and locks it up, comes to a complete stop on the inside of the racetrack. So, again, another incident down at that end of the racetrack that could have been a lot bigger than it actually was. and he's the only car that goes around. There is no big mess. It was far enough back in the pack that there wasn't a ton of cars coming through that one late, but that is a second very fast yellow.
And it's one of those one-car incidents that could have been a couple more cars, but we'll see how that shakes out for David Rattler. Unlike Jarl, David's got a little bit more damage by the looks of it, at least front and rear, compared to what the 3-car had. So I'm sure he'll bring it down pit road to get service, but nevertheless puts us under caution again for the second time in the evening. And there's the 3 of Jarl. Doesn't have a whole lot of damage from that first wreck, so no harm, no foul. I think a couple of cars in front of him might have a little bit of rearranged front end work, some cosmetic damage, but nevertheless it is Loudon, it is a short track. We're going to see a little bit of beating and banging and some fenders kicked out.
It certainly comes to be expected. I'm not sure we were thinking it was going to happen this early on, but Tim had referenced it earlier on when we came onto the air, the exciting finish that we saw just 1 year ago, Randy, in this race. Ryan Lewis, as we noted, one of your race winners here back from 2017. An exciting finish with he and Michael Conti coming down with a little bit of bumper usage to the end. Lewis, a driver who's won this race, so has Logan Clampett, Alex Warren, Derek Wood, Josh Berry. Only Michael Conti, who almost got that third win as of a year ago, is a multi-time winner here at New Hampshire. He won it in 2012 and in 2013. As another quick yellow going to come to a close here with the lights off on top of the pace car, and we get set to do it again. Michael Conti was very good out of the box the last time. The 5 looks to replicate that.
Yeah, I definitely think he's going to be very, very jumpy here, especially with the fact he has experience in this place winning here. He knows he want to get away from the field early, because no matter what, if you consider it a short track or not, this place races like one. And I mean, expect to see a lot of those sort of cautions that we have tonight, but hopefully we can keep the short cautions with everyone on the lead lap, cuts a couple of laps off of it. So if we can keep the half spins coming for yellows, let's keep it that way.
See if these drivers are going to settle things down towards the back again. 2 small incidents, 2 quick yellows here in Loudon. A pace car back down at end. The number 5 machine had been pretty early the last time he was in control of the race start. He'll hold them back a little bit longer this time, and it is just as clean. Conti back green, 15 down from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Even a better run this time for the 27 of Mullis on that inside of the second row, trying to go third to second on the inside of Luza. The 6 is so good off the corner, though. He'll squeeze by on the outside and hang on.
And keep a half eye on Ray Alfala as well. He works to the inside of Matt Busa, Keegan Leahy there as well, as they stack up a little bit in 3 and 4. Busa stacks up that outside line just a wee bit. Luza will go to second, Mullis to third, and Ray Alfala with that little bobble from the 34 keeps even with him as they drive it down into corner number 1.
Back down into the corner, you can see that too. One of the only drivers that low on track, Taylor Hurst, a couple of car lengths behind him also. To make the inside work as you go on aboard with the 2 of Ray Alfala. You can see Jimmy Mullis clear down into the corner, with the 2 machine forced to stay on that inside line a little bit, and right there off of the corner is where that upper line is just so good. So you'll have to wave the white flag for the moment, tuck back in line. Alfala, though, in P4, he's got to be happy. He's already up 6 positions from where he started in P10. Again, Ray, as noted, has not made a top 5 finish since the month of May. So it's the 34 of Busa, Thompson Lada behind him. The 2 machine, at the moment, right where they want to be.
Yeah, they definitely are. Busa's going to take that slightly narrow entrance in towards the corner. I think part of the reason we've also seen Ray struggling in this series has just been sort of lackluster qualifying from slip angle. If you look at the average starts for a lot of your championship contenders outside the likes of Ryan Michael Luza and Keegan Leahy, a lot of them really struggle to consistently qualify in that top 10 or much further forward than that if they even get there. Think about Bobby Zielinski. I mean, how many times we've seen Bobby come through the field, and he's having to do it again tonight. Championship points leader. He's already up 4 spots on the night, fighting right now with the 78 of Christian Jallner. So a lot of dramatic pits up and down this field. All has to do with the championship as the 5 continues running away from Ryan Luza.
Doing everything he can to open up that gap for 1 and 2. It sits right now at a half a second. And again, big move for that 5 of Michael Conti, because that yellow flag set to hurt him a little bit, because Conti had gone to the inside of Luza just before that yellow flag came out. Concerned that obviously you get in position, a yellow comes out, and you almost lose your opportunity. But it was a good job of the 5 of Conti right off of the restart. Get up and around Luza, and the 6 machine under attack now from Jimmy Mullis. And he really missed corner exit that time. Had to get way out of the gas, and you could see the 27 blow by him on the inside. More of a mistake from the 6. this than some sort of magician-like move from Mullis, but it'll put him into the number 2 position, and Ray Alfala smells the blood in the water. It is Shark Week after all. He'll go to the inside. This fight's for 3rd.
Impressive move by Luza, though. He definitely had a handful of steering wheel, kept it off of Jimmy Mullis, kept it off the wall, but now, once again, under fire from the 2 of Ray Alfala. Alfala takes that look to the inside. Busa is there as well, and they line up behind him. Taylor Hurst, not too far behind, is Nick Ottinger. So Ray Alfala, that inside line, he's going to have to get this move done fairly quickly in order to take that spot, or Luza, as you see, coming off the corner, takes that spot and opens the door for Busa. Busa's going to try that inside line.
A lot easier to say, have some patience if you don't have people all over you. Alfala tucks the line instantly. You saw Busa challenge to the inside, practically leaning on each other. Tom at quarter number 4. There is risk involved in this one because that 74 of Hurst has basically filled that vacancy on the outside that was left by Busa. So if you're the 34, you either pass Ray Alfala right now or you're fixing to lose maybe 2-3 positions because you've got Ray Alfala up top, Taylor Hurst, and the 05 Nick Ottinger on the outside line for one of the first times tonight. The 05 has been pinched down low on numerous occasions. They're all lining up, and that 34 machine desperately down, trying to get that 4th spot. Alfala still with the advantage that time at the line.
Busa's still doing a good job down low as they enter turn number 1, but still we know that high line is favored, but maybe the tires just a little bit better for that 34 as he gets a good run off corner number 2 and down this long back straightaway, gets ready to get hard on the brakes as they enter in towards corner number 3. This should be advantage to Matt Busa once again, but it seems like on the top side in towards turn 3, Ray can really sling the car in there, but on the exit, Busa gets the advantage, nose ahead though, does the 2 a little bit later on in the corner, and Matt has a nice little opening he could get into if he wants, but he's not going to do it. And he's been like this for a while, even before they were side by side. Busa was very aggressive, driving a much tighter entry into the corner. So I think that 34 car just might flat out prefer being on that bottom groove. He's not losing much time at all to those cars behind.
And he's already made up 3 positions. You compare that in contrast to Ottinger, who I mentioned we've practically always seen on the inside thus far in this race, the orange and blue 05. Well, he's been down low a lot, and he's only gone -4 since the start of this race. So to each its own as these drivers get some rubber put down onto the racetrack, and maybe that inside line going to be a little bit more viable as the night goes on. But just look how tight these cars are with each other, Tim. Coming off of the quarter, turn 2, we've already seen 2 pieces of contact tonight that have led to early yellow flags, and it's obviously not spooking the drivers up front. You got Busa and Alfala completely glued to one another's door every time they come off the quarter, and even more risky, that 05 of Ottinger trying to stay on the left rear of Hurst as they come off of the corner. So not a lot of extra space between these 2 cars. You'll go on board with the 05, and you'll see just how little real estate they give one another off of the corner, as that time out of 2, it is Busa finally get it around Alfala. He'll take P4.
If you're the inside race car, you want to get the run off the corner, so you want to use every piece of real estate that you can coming off the corner like Ottinger did right there with the 74 at first. Almost got into him, almost gave him a little slide job or a little hip check off of corner number 4. And it opens the door for Zach Novak. Where did Novak come from? He started 17th. He's all the way up here battling for a top 5 position. The 15 car is up on the wheel, but Evan, you mentioned it. If you're on that inside line, you want to get as much momentum as you can coming off the corner. If you have to use the guy on the outside a little bit, you're going to have to try to get that position if you want that run.
And if you're on the inside of the racetrack, you kind of have control over being the aggressor per se. You're on that bottom line for sure, but if you just don't take as low as the line, you almost force that driver on your outside out of the preferred groove a little bit. Again, in theory, the higher up you are down on the inside of the racetrack, the better it is going to be for you to be able to carry that momentum. That's going to be a key. And again, getting the advantage on the long straightaways here and completing the passes. You can certainly see that when you got a group of cars like the one we're looking at right now, off of the back end of the number 24 machine, that's the 46 of Clampett right behind him, and then the blue entry, the 10 of Corey Vincent. When you got all these drivers stacked up on top of each other, they all almost overdrive the corner a little bit, get a little bit too far down in there, and could open up the opportunity for somebody to undercut if you could remain disciplined. All of this, though, top 10. It's fantastic racing. Michael Conti, still your race leader. Of course, you can see all of those intervals going across the top of your screen, but he's nearly now a second in front of Mullis for 1-2.
Everything is pretty much stationed out here, spread out a little bit as Ottinger is still going to work. I think Bobby Zielinski in the back maybe had a little bit of an oversteer moment coming off corner number 4. Now, he went side by side with Brad Davies, and either got scared or had a little bit of a slide, had to kind of save that car, as he's still trying to work his way up through the field, as Nick Ottinger and Ray Alfalo are going to go back to racing side by side. Ottinger down to the inside, going to put himself in the top 5. Cleared that 2 machine on the entry really, really well, and now Ray's not battling is not done yet, as Taylor Hurst takes a look at the bottom groove, going to get clear for a moment, and that 74 car is going to send it down to the inside in towards turn 1, and going to try to get another pass done. So the 2-tire call, while picking Ray up a number of spots, maybe not working out in the long run, because he's been doing nothing but going backwards since that pit stop.
I was just about to say that 2-tire call kind of gets lost in all of this because so many of the cars up towards the front of the field went with that decision that it wasn't as much of a gamble as you might have expected a 2-tire call to be. But that 74 of Taylor Hurst, who's right now working on the 2 of Alfala, he was one of the first drivers or the highest running drivers in the field to go with a 4-tire decision when the race leaders came down to the pit lane at lap number 10. So he certainly has a little bit more bite. The question is, has that bite worn off after the first 5 or 10 laps on the tires and they balanced out? Again, a 2-tire call is something that I think you could make work very well here at New Hampshire under certain circumstances. Obviously, at the end of the day, the advantage will go to those 4, but all things considered, Ray Alfala still up 4 positions, and at the moment he's given a 74 as much as he can handle. There's a lot of contact between those 2 that time. He was all over the bumper into the corner.
Yeah, they're not giving each other an inch right now as they come off of corner number 2. The 15 of Zach Novak is going to try to be the one to capitalize, and it actually might be Logan Clampett that tries to do so. He's looking to get into a playoff position here in these next 3 races and looking to wheel that thing to the inside of the 15 of Novak. Novak gets that run off of corner number 4, though. Tried to go to the inside, it looked like on the 74, but the 74 in turn down into 1 will try to set up Ray Alfalo once again. These guys, the last time they were side by side, did not give each other an inch. See what happens here off corner number 2, and it looks like status quo as they drag race down to 3.
The drag race down to quarter number 3. You go on board with Zach Novak, who's got a front row seat of all of the action, as it's Alfala v. Hurst for position 6 and 7. And again, Ray Alfala going to lose a position. Give a driver down on that inside of the racetrack. And again, he's at the disadvantage here, so certainly those drivers are able to make up the difference of being in what will be, at least at this point of the race, I think called that unpreferred line throughout the field. The 15 to Zach Novak, next driver to dive down on the inside. This battle's about 4.5 seconds off for the race lead, so we are starting to see the field spread out on one at the moment. Is that the longest green flag run of the evening? But something tells me Ray's going to have his hands full for the better part of this run, because again, that 2-tire call got him those spots immediately, Randy. It does mean that he's going to have people all over him, I think, for quite some time. And it's not like 2 cars get behind him and he's got a big gap. I mean, there's a handful of cars lined up here with Novak, that 13 machine of Brad Davies, Logan Clampett, Keely Leahy, not all that far off either.
They definitely are, and you mentioned it with Alfala versus Novak. I really think it's Alfala versus the world right now, because he seems like he's the cork in the bottle. I think he's the slowest out of all these cars, and he allows the top side to be opened up, and Novak is going to take a peek and be able to get there. Now he has the preferred line. Logan Clampett's going to try to follow through. So now Ray has what is really an inferred tire disadvantage and is on the disadvantageous part of the racetrack. Brad Davies is going to try to slip up to the top as well. It nearly makes a little contact with Keegan Leahy. They both have to lift out of it, but still, Ray isolated on that low groove with all these faster cars are, I think, within the next 2 laps, pretty much going to shift out in front. So while the strategy call may have worked in the short term for Ray, I think by the time this is all said and done, he's likely going to cycle into about 12th or 13th when these cars eventually get around him. So this tire call ended up not working out whatsoever for him, while everyone else out in front who did it continues to run from the field.
Yeah, the advantage that those drivers up front, Conti, Busa, Mullis, and all of those drivers, they had that buffer on the restart. Their buffer was Ray Alfala, who was essentially one of those last drivers on the 2 tires. He was able to get off of the pit lane again, not in all that bad a shape, but just didn't quite navigate those first couple of laps as smoothly as he would have liked, and therefore, while all of the drivers on the 4 tires were trying to put a move on him, it was allowing the likes of Conti and some of the other drivers out front to be able to run away a little bit, get some breathing distance. Quite a difference. Alfala getting eaten up in the pack. He's fallen to P9. With the caution of flying going to come out. Problems, lap 40.
Problems on the back of the grid. Is that Michael Guest maybe? On the inside, Brandon Pipgrass getting a little bit of the piece of the action. The caution flag will fly. You'll take a look at the RaceSpot replay to see what happened in Pipgrass. And is it Brian Schoenberg off of corner number 2? Indeed it is. Schoenberg on his way back to the front of the field, Evan. Looks like he may have found Brandon Pipgrass, and no harm, no foul, I don't think, for the 55. He might have a little bit of a crinkle on the right front fender, but the 29 in Pipgrass will go through the grass and do a little agricultural work on the back straightaway here at Loudon.
Well, nothing out of the ordinary in that exchange. We were just commenting on how tight these cars are with each other off of the quarters, and that time that 55 machine was just half a foot too high up on a racetrack. Didn't give Pipgrass enough room. 29 gets turned around, down through the grass. Everything going to be A-okay, though, no further damage. Third incident on the night, and again, all relatively minor thus far. That longest green flag lap of the night that I was talking about is drawn to a close. Race leaders back down to the pit lane. You would expect longer runs, but the drivers having taken 2, that the majority of the field's going to go for 4. We'll find out.
I think we're going to see 4 tires for everyone up and down the field, and what a race that looks like it's really falling into Michael Connie's hands, as everyone around him and behind him has really just not had the sort of pace. So for Michael Connie, who's had a couple flashes of awesome performances this year and really struggled over the course of the season to bring a lot of solid performances home, he should come off with the race lead. Busa in second, with Jimmy Mullis coming home in that 3rd spot. I think Luther should cycle into 4th, and Taylor Hurst rounding out your top 5. Nick Odger, the loser on that one, losing a couple of spots. But that 5 car looked to potentially have a season best run here, maybe outside of what happened at Daytona. But in terms of the, let's say, quote-unquote, non-super speedway tracks, this is the strongest we've seen this 5 car look all season.
Yeah, the 5's looking pretty sporty, and there are races like Daytona, obviously, that really everybody's on a relatively even playing field, but of course you don't even have to have a good night at Daytona to win. You don't have to have a good night at any racetrack to win. Something could happen late in a race and you can find yourself in a position, but it certainly feels good, Tim, to have a fast car rate out of the gate. And for Conti's sake, as we come to a restart with 107 still to go, that team hopes that can keep up.
And they had a lot of flashes of brilliance throughout this season, but it just didn't pan out, whether it was pit strategy or whatever the case, maybe a short run setup compared to a long run setup. But nevertheless, they've put some good runs together, but they've wanted a little better runs. They wanted those greater runs. And right now with Michael Conti and Brian Schoenberg, the way that they're running, Brandon Hastings on the box and Pat Millay on the box, they should be able to bring something to the table here, albeit we still have a long way to run here at Loudon, over 100 laps to go.
Restart coming up. This portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Coolant, the official antifreeze of NASCAR and proud title sponsor of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series, RaceSpot TV, and the iRacing eSports Network. Green flag back in the air as we pass 1/3 distance from Loudon. The 5 machine going to slide up in front of the 34, maintains control of P1, top 2 single file. The fight this time is for P3, and kind of surprised, Jimmy Mullis isn't up there fighting for second. The last 2 restarts in a row, he's gone for that move for the inside of his row. This time, though, Luza keeping his hands full on the outside.
He's trying to. He had a bit of a checkup in the midfield on back 2. Not exactly sure what happened, but they were 3-4 wide for a moment. Some drivers fanning out to avoid something, but it's not as great of a restart for the 5 of Connie as what he had last time through when he had that race lead. As the 34 of Busa is very, very close, and we see him running that low line that he's been doing all night. He gets a little bit of an overlap, in fact, with that 5 car, able to just get clear as Michael Connie on the exit of corner number 2 as they head in towards 3 and 4. Now Luza going to try to slot into that outside group, not able to do so. Pulling alongside now is that Radicals car of Matt Busa for a moment. So while everyone loves that high line, looks like Mac found somehow, some way to make his car work on that lower groove, and that's going to make him a really big threat, Evan, because of course if you can ever run the offline for everyone else, it's a huge, huge advantage to have up your sleeve, as the 05 machine makes a little bit of contact with Jimmy Mullis through the center of 1 and 2.
That one was almost bad. The 05 stepped up the racetrack, and he kind of got his feet right back under him just as he brushed up alongside the 27. He was also loose down at that end of the racetrack. Taylor Hurst gets into the back of him. He had to roll out of the throttle, but up so that Ray Alfala was able to take a peek to the inside, and that right now is going to be the first battle on the racetrack right now for the number 6 spot. The 2 working at a little bit of a disadvantage here. 74 going to graze the wall that time. You can see the sparks flying. They don't really lose any speed from that, Tim. That's how tight these guys have been cutting it.
Yeah, they battled hard for that position. The 15 of Novak is there as well, and looks like the 46 of Logan Clampett has found something to run in the top 10 here this evening, and he works the outside line. Been keeping a half eye on that leader as well. Looks like that 34 of Matt Boosa is able to roll center a little bit better than the 5 of Michael Conti, but Conti's able to get that speed off the corner. You see it there off turn 2. That number 34 able to roll that center in, but Conti is able to stomp on the gas and get off the corner a little bit better than Boosa can, and you see it here coming off of corner number 4. Conti's going to drive away.
To drive away and to spread things back out. He actually got a very good jump off for the race start and had this about this size of a gap back to the 34 machine. As you see, Conti get awfully close into the quarter with that 5 machine comfortable with the line he's taken, just rocket off, and he pulls back to that full car length gap. But this is about the advantage Conti had, but he made a mistake a few laps back in turns 1 and 2. That's what allowed Boosa to get right up alongside him. So other than that small blip, the 5 has been very smooth and consistent up front, which may be a key to getting through tonight's race after all of the relatively small pieces of contact we've seen. But you can only bump into people so many times before either somebody gets tired of it or you just end up taking yourself out of this race. So consistency is certainly going to be a key as we single file out everybody in the top 10.
Yeah, consistency and patience pretty much, because with this running very much like a short track and with that upper groove really being where you have to run, you kind of have to pick your battles in terms of when you really feel your advantage is biggest, and really it depends on how slow that car is out there in front of you. It can be really, really easy to drive over your head, get in really, really hard, and end up burning up your tires or potentially even getting into some contact and damaging the car. So over 150 laps here at Loudon, it's a huge, huge talking point for sure. I think those who do well tonight will know when to be patient and when they should go for it, as Ottinger looks down to the inside of Jimmy Mullis through corners number 3 and 4. Not going to be able to maintain that overlap whatsoever, but the 5 car now, after a handful of laps into this restart, beginning to stretch his lead up to about 7-8 car lengths.
Exactly what Michael Conti is looking for, and with Ryan Loser running in 3rd position, those drivers having started alongside one another on the front row. But of course, to reference back to last year again, Michael Conti only 5 laps away. I think it was actually at 4 to go. 4 laps away from winning this race for a 3rd time. Again, he's the only driver who's won at New Hampshire more than once in the history of this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. Got roughed up and out of the way. Wasn't a dirty move by Lusa, but he certainly put the bumper to him. I think Conti, with a little bit of extra determination to maybe get this one back to him, one that he feels maybe got taken away.
He moved him and then he left him. He ran away from the number 5, did Ryan Lusa last year, to win that race, and that's really what you have to do. You see Logan Clampett battling with Zach Novak, middle of the pack right now. We're just inside the top 10 at position number 8 and 9 as they continue to work around this racetrack, and putting on a great show between those two is trying to pick up some positions, get a little closer to the front of the field.
You're trying to close things in, certainly, and you make a couple of spots up here or there. Certainly, you're going in the right direction. Clampett and Novak, specifically 2 drivers who have kind of cut their way halfway up to the front of the field. Logan and Clampett, as you mentioned, you see the 46 and a 15 fighting right now. Logan started in 15th and runs into P8 at the moment, and Zach Novak way out high by the outside wall. He'll be able to put the right foot back down and prevent an attack from Davies, but Novak as well, somebody who's done very good. Started 17th and has moved into the 9th position. So those 2 drivers, some of the bigger movers already.
And they definitely are doing a good job. You also have Bobby Zielinski just 2 spots behind them, up 7 from 18th. Just outside of the top 10 of the 24, Keegan Lee finds the outside wall coming off corner number 2. Bit of sparks, didn't cost him too much time, but shows you the way they're running. 78 of Christian Challenger going to take a peek down inside of him, as he's got a bunch of damage on the right side of that car as well. So several drivers getting their Loudon stripes here, pushing a little bit wide on the exit for sure. Not something you typically talk about, but I think these guys, with the cool weather, Evan, the track's going to be very, very fast tonight. And I think that's why we're seeing some people get so close to that wall with the pace they're able to fling off these corners.
Yeah, they're certainly pushing it. Nobody is shying away from that in the early stages of this race. But as you look back up front, that gap that Michael Conti had has nearly been completely evaporated. Matt Boosa is right back onto the back bumper. And it wasn't necessarily a big mistake that allowed the 5 machine to kind of drop back into his aim. I think it was just a couple of good laps by the 34 machine. And Michael Conti, somebody who is very experienced in this series, not one that'll be sweating too easily from pressure. But with Matt Boosa right there, you know the 5 machine certainly feeling it. Look on the board, and now from high above as the top 2 fight, they're both 1 second in front of the rest of the field. These 2 cars looking pretty even right now.
And that 5 of Conti, that last time by at a 4, stepped it up a little bit and put a little bit of a gap between himself and the 34 of Busa compared to where they were 2 laps ago. The 34 gets a great run through 1 and 2 with the 5. Has that launch once again, has that advantage off the corner compared to the 34. 34 still a little bit better in and through the center, and the 5 just a wee bit better off. But it seems like that 34 car is just so doggone consistent right now as he battles with that number 5 of Michael Conti for that lead position. Keep a half eye behind them as well as Jimmy Mullis pours some pressure on Ryan Luza. And look who it is. Nick Ottinger in the 05 is there too.
You can see that big gap between first and second, and then it gets a lot more crowded at the group we're looking at right now, which is third position on back. Nobody overly threatening at the moment of the Logan Clampett's going to go way high into the corner. You can see that 46 machine there went way up and into the dark part, but the 15 machine at Novak not able to make it stick, and they will tuck back in line in single file out side by side for the race lead. That's Busa again, flashing a nose to the inside as he finally make it stick this time at lap number 60. He'll stick with him all the way through the quarter at a drag race down to turn number 3. As the 34 of Busa got something extra, he'll go really low into the quarter to stay alongside the 5. Gets about a half a car length in front, but right there, that runoff is just too good.
Great driving there from Michael Conti, just giving up so much on the entrance into turn 3 and getting it all back and more on the exit of turn 4 with that wide angle. It was a little bit of a mistake going into 1 that allowed that allowed Busa to get alongside the 5 car, and Michael did everything he could, and it was just enough to get clear of that 34 car coming off 4. In towards turn 3 once again, Busa down to that lower line. We're starting to see some other cars, if we look behind, sort of run that lower groove. Looks like the likes of Ryan Michael Luza and Jimmy Mullis are starting to move down the racetrack. Maybe they've had that 34 car out in front of them long enough they figured out how to do it just a little bit. You see much tighter entry for a huge amount of the field, especially compared to your race leader. As Conti is now pretty much pushed up, and he's running to that second highest line pretty much, as close as you can get really to running off the wall here, maintaining any pace. So the 5 car finding speed up top, everyone else finding it down low.
Everybody else trying to get down on that inside. And again, there's nothing stopping from Matt Busa to go down there. Michael Conti not at all concerned, Tim, with trying to take that line away or put a block on him. Again, he's very comfortable up on the outside line. And in fact, I thought maybe the inside to get a little bit more viable as more rubber got put down, but it's almost like Conti's going even higher in the center of the quarter, and it makes that diamond off that much more extreme. And again, it appears to be working for him. I don't think he's got any objections to the 34 trying to dig down on the inside of the racetrack yet. If Busa wants to eat up his tires down there, and Michael Conti's okay with that. He has not had to deviate from his preferred line at all on nearly any of these attempts.
And I'm not sure if that diamonding off the corner is maybe a happy accident compared to where he was running, because you look at the 5 10 laps ago, he was running a regular line per se around the racetrack, and now, as you mentioned, he's kind of dominating the corner off. He's drifting up wide here in the middle of the corner, and then the thing just darting to the inside and getting that run off the corner. He wasn't doing that in the first half of the run, so maybe it's something that they found a little bit of an experiment, and right now Conti has a bigger lead than he did 10 laps ago when Matt Busa was reeling him in, albeit he's still there. As you see that inside line with the 34, you can see the door of the 5, you can see forefront on the quarter panel. He just can't get past that number 5.
And late in the race, I don't think you're going to want, Randy, to allow somebody to get that close to you with the right rear. But again, right now, Conti not really concerned that Busa would go after him there, and the Fine Machine doing the same thing. It is very exaggerated, though, that dive off. You can see on those wider shots there, everybody else still taking that normal line, and the Fine Machine has really gone out of his way to exaggerate that. And now look at Matt Busa following him up much higher in the pack, or much higher in the quarter, should say, and almost mimicking what the Fine Machine's doing. He's tried the inside for nearly half a dozen laps or so, and now maybe he wants to see if the 5's line's got some sense to it.
Yeah, there's a number of cars, in fact, behind even looking there. Ryan Michael Luza's moving up to the top side. Jimmy Mullis, Ray Alfalo, who I believe is fighting with, he's fighting with Logan Clampy. He's running that sort of extreme high line as well. So driver's doing a lot of moving around, trying to find some speed. As the 34 still sticking to his guns down on that inside line. I will say, though, in terms of really being worried about what that 34 car is doing, Evan, and maybe shutting the door, I think the best thing is that when you know when you're fast is to not get too anxious and worry too much about where those cars behind you are really fighting, as the fight for 7th is now going to heat up 46 of Logan Clampett has a bit of a run on Ray, but he gets the big scream down the front straightaway. Logan should be able to, nope, take that back. He's going to just duck back in line, but when you worry too much about what the drivers behind are doing, it'll sometimes force mistakes, as Ray's still fighting with that 46 car, who went back in line and immediately went back side by side with Ray entering one.
And, you know, you look at the 46 machine go to the inside, just like we saw Busa do so many times, try to get around Conti, and you get asked, well, you know, if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working out, why are you expecting something to change? If you're the 46 Logan Clampett, you can't just sit behind Ray and not do anything. Zach Novak's right behind you. I'm sure the 15 would love to try to make a move to get up on you. But the concern is, again, you leave that line. Don't let somebody sneak up onto your outside. It is tricky to make a pass going outside somebody. It's the longer way around the racetrack. It's just hard to get that positioning, but it's certainly something you have to keep in mind. It's something that Matt Busa doesn't necessarily have to deal with like these cars back into thicker traffic do. You see that first group of cars come off of the corner. That was Jimmy Mullis and Nick Ottinger. They was a very small battle for fourth and fifth position, I should say. Ottinger trying the inside. Again, nothing came from it, and Mullis actually riding much lower than what we've seen some of the drivers on the outside do.
And we've seen a couple of racetracks this season, Evan, where you really have to get to the inside, and you might have to work that driver on the inside for 4 or 5 laps in order to make it happen. There's Pip Grass battling side by side with Derek Bordeaux in the middle of the pack. Bordeaux on the inside of Pip Grass, and these guys might be a little more aggressive per se than what we've seen within the top 10 as Bordeaux tries to take that inside line, comes up the racetrack a little bit, gives enough room for Pip Grass to work on that outside line. But these guys in the middle of the pack, they're a little more aggressive, and they might be a little more apt to slide up and maybe take away that line right now compared to those guys within the top 10. As we close in on that halfway point in this one, the gloves slowly begin to come off as we continue to work forward. There's Joe Letteriello. You look back as the Pip Grass machine goes a little sideways and collects it, and then you look in the picture-in-picture and you see that driver up in front. And the one thing I've seen, Evan, when we've looked at Letteriello, he's not really sawing on the wheel. It looks like a smooth ride for him.
Again, his view through that rear view mirror of the great action going on behind him, a lot worse than our view off of the back of his car. That was a great exchange with the 04 Derek Bordeaux, who nearly was the driver who squeezed the 29 of Pip Grass out of room. It was the 04 who was slotways off of 2, and that was the 54 on the inside of Michael Gass. So certainly more aggressive mid-pack, a lot more leaning on each other, and again, there's a lot more at stake. If you lose that position, you're not Matt Busa with a 1.5 second gap back to the next car behind you. Somebody's going to jump on you, so it's almost do or die here in the middle of the pack, where a lot of great racing is still going on, and it's so difficult for these drivers to get any sort of spacing from one another that they're certainly up on the wheel elbows up the entire run.
To be honest, Evan, with all that pressure, with how competitive this mid-pack is, it's also part of the reason you want to get aggressive and try to pick up spots, because if you're a little bit too patient, you know, you might see a situation where a driver behind ends up just putting the move on you and getting by, and now on a track that seems very difficult to pass, it's very racy. You can run a couple different lines. We're seeing that out in front. We're seeing it with Ray Alfalo and Logan Clampett. They're both just, you know, one's running low, the other's running high, and they're basically ending up even on the lap chart, lap on lap. But it's very difficult to actually get a pass done when your competitor is equally fast up top as you are down low, or vice versa. So when you can make the pass, you have to go for it and get it done. But at the same time, you can't be too patient and let others just maybe pounce on you, knowing that you're lifting a little early, not want to get too aggressive.
And as we monitor all of the fights going on throughout the pack, this time your race leader, Michael Conti, is going to complete lap number 75. He is now halfway home from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. So as we cross the halfway point of tonight's race, let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation, developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks from all around the globe. But in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing, with officially sanctioned racing by the likes of NASCAR and many more. It is still Michael Conti in the number 1 position. We continue to see if maybe the 34 could get something, but right now it is Conti 1 at a boost of 2, as it has been for the better part of the run this evening. Ryan loses 1.3 seconds off of the back end. That's the white and yellow Ford right now in 3rd position. position. Jimmy Mullis runs it at 4th. Nick Ottinger is your top 5 drivers at the moment. Taylor Hurst behind them at P6. Ray Alfala scored 7th. Brad Davies is 8th. Logan DeClamp at 9th. And Zach Novak right now rounds out your top 10.
It's a home track race for Keegan Leahy. He currently runs in position number 11, and 12 is Bobby Zielinski, Christian Chalner, Corey Vincent, and Brian Schoenberg. Your top 15, the 55, working all the way back up to 15th place. Nick Shelton, Chris Shearburn, Andrew Fayash, the 3rd, Blake Reynolds, and Nolan Scott. To complete your top 20 as the 34 continues to work underneath the 5.
Things stay feisty out in front as Chris Overland runs in 21st, Joe Letteriello 22nd, Derek Bordeaux 23rd, Brandon Pitgrass 24th, Casey Tucker 25th, Michael Guest 26th, Colton Davis 27th, 28th is Adam Gilliland with Ryan Lowe and Marcus Richardson rounding out your top 30. They're side by side for the lead off of corner number 2 with David Rattler, Jarl Teen, and Casey Kerwin rounding out the 33-car field tonight.
To be looked top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today and get up to 40% off new iRacing memberships. More information on that at iRacing.com/membership. But as we've crossed the halfway point, this portion of the program is brought to you by Herculiner Bedliner. The tough comes easy, and there is nothing easy about this 34 Michigan Matt Busa trying to complete the pass at Michael Conti. It's about the 12th time he's gone to the inside of the row, and he's a lot more of a stingent contender on this exchange. We saw, again, that 10 or 15 laps or so ago, he was getting to the inside, but just barely getting to the back bumper in the center of the corner. He's been doing a very good job, Tim, of actually getting right up and alongside of Michael Conti, actually at points clearing him in the center, but the 5 again gets that run off the corner, this time pretty even with the speed down the back straightaway. So Busa may have found something, or that extreme outside line may be wearing away for the 5 as these tires get about as old as they've been all night long. Great battle, though, for the race lead still.
Longest run that we've had on the racetrack so far this evening, and you mentioned it. Busa gets to the inside, gets side by side with Conti in the entrance of the corner to the center. 5 pulls away on the exit of the corner. He's so strong, but that 34 of Busa, if this was lap 145 instead of lap number 82, I'd say lose it a little bit or use up that 5 off the corner. Didn't have to right there. He's going to give up the lead to the number 34 of Matt Busa, but we'll see if Conti tries anything back here. I think it's too early to use up the guy on the outside, especially on these old tires, but you might see that here in about 40 or 50 laps or so.
The 34 of Busa finally completes that pass for the race lead, and this has really allowed Ryan Lusa to close back in as well. So as they've single filed out back 1 and 2, it might not mean that the 6 machine's going to be able to keep with them. We'll have to see, Randy, but certainly with all the side by side, Lusa could have about a second off of his gap. He's right there behind him, as you can see, tucked up in 3rd, about 7 tenths behind them.
We're going to have to see what happens with the lap times, because while these guys have been really aggressive, they've been using up the tires, racing one another. Like the Luz have typically been about 800ths of a second quicker. Jimmy Mullis, I think, quickest car on the racetrack last time at a 30.176. Compare that to your leader who did a 205. So a lot of quick cars here late in this run as we're probably approaching what will be a pit stop window relatively soon. Whether or not people will go to the end from there, sort of up in the air right now. But that 34 car, now that he's out in front, looking comfortable and confident that they head off towards 1 and 2 once again, and that 6 car getting ever closer and closer, I think, in the rearview mirror of that number 5.
Yeah, certainly the question here now is, how is Michael Conti going to be able to hang on? You referenced the battle last year, Tim, with Conti and Lusa when they were battling for the race lead. Lusa moved him up out of the way, but after he passed him, he was able to pull away, certainly showing it that at that point in the race, Lusa had the faster car. Well, Matt Busa, you have to think, having been able to get to the back bumper of Conti so many times, that his car might be the best right now, and after clearing him, he has pulled away just a little bit. You can see it's about equidistance between 1, 2, and 3. Busa's advantage is about at 4 tenths of a second. So I think Busa's the faster car. He's made that pass. We will now see what Conti can do if he is a clearly second fastest car, or if he'll continue to slide it back, because Lusa's no longer gaining on Busa. The gap between him and P1 has now started to grow a little bit lap by lap. Conti sliding back a little bit into the clutches of the 6 machine.
And at this point of the race, you're going to see a lot of respect between these top three. You're not going to see these drivers beat and smash off each other, per se, in order to get a position. You might see that in 50 laps or so when that sense of urgency begins to rise, but you're going to see these drivers run it out. Probably going to see a pit stop in here somewhere. Unlike these guys here in the middle of the pack, Blake Reynolds and Andrew Fayash, third, battling it out for position. Reynolds a little sideways off corner number 2, tucks back in behind the 77. These drivers here might have a little more sense of urgency. Everybody's so close. If I can pick up 2 positions and get to clean air, I'm definitely going to have to. Reynolds goes to the inside and tries to make that inside work. Won't do it off 4.
Not going to be able to make it work that time off of quarter number 4. You're on board with the 18th machine of Blake, or the 18th placed car, should say, of Blake Reynolds in that number 66 machine, as he's now under attack, and there's going to be contact. Both cars sideways. What a save! The 66 still trying to hang on, and he will. It was Chris Overland who got into the left rear quarter panel as we were on board, and what a shot of the number 66 wheeling down the back straightaway to somehow not wreck that race car. An equally as good save for the 47 of Overland. Look at both of those cars down the back straightaway.
And that 66 car has a bit of damage, I think, of Blake Reynolds, because he is all over the place right now. And that wheel, the way he's having to hold it down the straightaways, is not typically what you want to see. So I think a little bit of suspension damage on the rear end for that 66. Going to get down to the bottom, maybe start figuring out how to wheel it. But he's had a lot of big moments since that little contact with Overland, and he's doing nothing but going backwards. So really struggling here is Blake Reynolds here just past halfway.
It was very similar to the incident we saw with Schoenberg that brought out the most recent caution flag in this race. But you could tell Overland noticed that he was going to get into him, trying to get off, and the contact was still eventually there. But somehow both of those drivers are okay for the time being. Meanwhile, as we talk about one of the longer runs of the night, Taylor Hurst at a number 74 Chevrolet has come down to the pit lane, and he has already gotten some service. That happened a couple of laps ago on lap number 83. So he goes for the way undercut as we close in to 60 laps to go. Randy, driver setting up for one final trip down to the pit lane if this thing stays green.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be another pit stop no matter what, if it goes green or if it doesn't. So coming down early, of course, wanting to work the undercut just a little bit. Not sure. I mean, the drop time has been pretty significant. I think earlier in the runs, most cars doing 29 flats. That has since slowed down to about mid-30s. So not the sort of drop-off that we see at a lot of the racetracks on iRacing. Particularly the cookie cutters tend to have the most, but it's still pretty significant for these guys. And the undercut could still be profitable depending on where you are in the field.
It seems to quite be the way undercut as there's contact again with Blake Reynolds and the 47 of Chris Overland. That one was again back in the pack as we watch some of the fights closer, but those drivers again getting into it off of quarter number 2 with the 47 of Overland. Got him in the left rear. So if you've already hit somebody once, I don't think that you really want to push their buttons anymore. So it is a very good battle for 20th and 21st position. The RaceSpot TV replay will give you a second look at what happened there, but both of those cars very ill handling at the moment. But anyways, Tim, to the point about Taylor Hurst, way with the undercut. If it was a short pit call, you maybe figure 3, 5, or a handful of laps before everybody else, but really nobody else are up in front has yet to come down pit road, so he seems at the moment to be the outlier.
And Taylor Hurst was falling back a little bit through the field when he decided to come down onto pit road. I like the call. We'll see how far it goes. The 74 has already unlapped himself as he tries to bring himself a little bit closer towards Matt Busa as he pulls away. You see that gap back there, the car coming off at turn 4 was that number 34 of Matt Busa. So he's already got a straightaway in about 10 laps or so, or a little less. As this battle continues on for the lead position, Conti in second. It's a little bit closer now for position number 2. Ryan Luza closing in about 2 or 3 car lengths in between those two. Busa seems like he's on a Tuesday evening drive. There's no pressure behind him. He hasn't really deviated from his line. Car stays consistent. Looks pretty good up in front.
Yeah, he's nice and comfortably 0.5 of a second in front of Michael Conti, and the big thing that I take away from that is what Tim just noted, Randy, the fact that he wasn't, at least it appears that he wasn't just going way down to the inside of Michael Conti for the sake of try to find an inside line. He's cleared, and he's roughly running that same line much lower than we saw out of the 5. Even Conti's come down a little bit since he's fallen into P2. So if you're Matt Busa, you were able to challenge for the race lead without really going out of your preferred groove. That's good news for him, and he continues to do just exactly that now up front.
Yeah, it is, pretty much just smooth sailing right now for the 34. No one really close, so doesn't have to get too stressed about things happening around him. No one really getting too crazy, so just can log laps if you're that 34 Matt Busa. But with pit stops coming through and with some feistiness coming from the likes of Blake Reynolds and Chris Overland, big question mark has to be, is there going to be a caution soon? And if you think so, probably going to be staying out for a pretty long while here.
You look at the numbers and the trends that we've seen so far, not only tonight, but, you talk about the different race winners here at New Hampshire, a track that's been on the calendar since 2010. History would lead you to believe that, yes, we are still yet to see a caution flag or caution flags to the end of this race, just shy of 2/3 of the way home as we work lap number 98 of 150. So you're almost tensed up waiting for it to happen. Matt Busa, I'm sure, would be A-okay if that moment does not come, but certainly I think the drivers wanting to be conservative don't go for the quick pit because you'll put yourself back into the traffic, and of course at that point yellow comes out. You're giving up 20 or 20 so spots. So if the tire fall off is not that bad, as Randy was mentioning, the difference here compared to some of those intermediate tracks where we see close to 2.5 to 3 seconds of fall off, if the tires aren't that bad, I don't think there's any reason to come down and take that risk, which is why most of the drivers up front continue to just log some laps and really get into a good rhythm.
And a lot of those drivers up in the front have a little bit of space between them as the 5 does come on to pit road. Michael Conti going to take the opportunity to come down and get service on his car. So the first of the big 3 per se up in front, are the 3 that have been running near the front of the field. Coming down pit road right now, the 24 you see on your screen of Keegan Leahy. That's going to promote him into the top 10, currently in position number 8, as we wait and see what happens now with Busa and Luza, and Busa is going to come down onto pit road, and he's going to bring a friend in Ryan Luza. So just like we've seen at some of these other racetracks, Evan, where one of the front runners comes down, it almost forces the hand of the others. You see them come down along with Logan Clampett in the 46.
It was a very aggressive pit entry also for the 34 Abusa. He locked up the tires, headed out of the pit lane.
Sorry, I don't want to cut in too much here, but Connie's only just gotten into his box and just now leaving. So terrible pit stop from the 5 car. That's pretty much going to end his night. There's no way I don't think he's not going to be down 2 laps here.
Well, he had the issue. He overshot the box by about a car length, backed it up about a car length too far. He gave up at least 6 seconds there. Now, under green flag conditions, it's not going to be as visibly bad. Maybe you're going to lose, obviously, track time. It's only going to cost him, I think, maybe 3 positions or so, but 6 seconds is not an easy amount of time to make up for sure.
I think it was more than that, Evan. He was in and out about 5 or 6 different times. He rolled in and out of the box aggressively several occasions. He's well down the order here.
And once you make one mistake, we get the official number on the pit stop delta, double what I might have thought it was, 12 seconds given up for Michael Conti down onto the pit lane. Once you make that first mistake, Tim, you get frustrated, and if you can't send it back into the box, you almost start mashing on the pedals and get frustrated, and it's the kind of self-inflicted error that somebody like a Michael Conti will very rarely make, but it could prevent him from going to Victory Lane, New Hampshire for a second straight year.
You mentioned a couple of moments ago that Matt Busa under that green flag run. Hey, maybe he doesn't need a caution flag. The driver that does need a caution flag now might very well be Mike Conti, given that he can get back on the lead lap and recycle himself and then try to pick up some positions. You see your leader on your screen. That is Nick Ottinger in the 05. Ryan Luza 2 laps ago just moved around the Richmond Raceway Federated Auto Parts 400 05 to put him back on the lead lap. But Nick Ottinger, he's been good here in the past. Don't be surprised to see him in the top 5 at the end of the evening. He is your leader, though, on those old tires, has yet to come down pit road in this cycle.
And we mentioned Taylor Hurst, who pitted a long time ago, Randy. He has moved up into the number 9 position, so he's the highest running driver in the field right now that has already completed service and has the ability to get to the end of this race. Matt Busa, meanwhile, pitted for the race lead. He's in 15th position or so. The difference between those 2 cars right now very much in the favor of Taylor Hurst, to the tune of about 13 seconds or so. Now, again, Hurst has used up his tires. Busa is going to be quicker. We'll see how quickly the 34 can start to erase that gap, but we'll see Nick Ottinger, Nick Shelton, then P2, Corey Vincent P3, the drivers who stay out, how long they're going to do so.
Yeah, it's one of those things right now. I don't think you can worry too much here, knowing that 74 car has already come down pit road, because you still have 44 laps of racing to go here. So if you're not bringing them in by a huge amount every single lap, it's okay, because you have plenty of time if you are one of those guys who obviously went to the more standard strategy to reel him in. Because just for the record right now, the 74 car, 30.0 that last trip around the racetrack. You compare that to Matt Busa, 29.0. Ryan Michael Luza did a 29.0 as well. So these guys are going to be about a second per lap quicker. There you got plenty of time to reel in that 74 with Taylor Hurst, considering they're only about 10 or so seconds back.
This is the point, though, for those race leaders. It certainly isn't a short pit call, but this is where you cannot afford to get a yellow. You're still on the lead lap. That's really something that is only a luxury of being in the top 5. You got Busa, Luza, Shelton, Clampett, Alfala running through the final positions on the lead lap, but 16th right now through 32nd. Half of the field is a lap down. Because again, you come down for green flag service. That is the amount of time you are giving up. So Ottinger, Vincent, Gierburn, those are the drivers. 1, 2, 3 right now. They've seen everybody else around them come down to the pit lane. The drivers who are trying to pull the rabbit out of the hat here.
And the battle we just saw on our screen moments ago, that intense battle between Jimmy Mullis, Logan Clampett, and Ray Alfala, that would be the battle for third if this thing does decide to cycle through under the green flag. It's gotten back to a little bit cordial between those drivers, but they were going hard at it for that position. Mullis takes that spot over Clampett and the 2, and keep in mind, this is a big race for Logan Clampett with 3 races to go. Really needs a clean one. There's the 3-around caution flag will fly.
And it is Jarl Tied with the issues. You can see the number 3 Chevrolet facing the wrong way around down in 3 and 4. And that is the dreaded caution flag that will completely change the complexion of the final 1/3 of this race. The look there on the RaceSpot TV replay, that angle a little bit late right here. You'll get a better look as the 3 machine comes down the back straightaway all by himself and just loses it. Going into the corner, the car breaks all kinds of sideways and it slaps back up and out into the outside wall. Another 1-car accident brings out a caution, and it's going to leave the field and the strategy of about 3/4 of these cars in shambles. If you're Ottinger, Vincent, or Gierburn, 1, 2, 3, perfect.
Yeah, it really is. If you're Taylor Hurst, you might be in a little bit of a weird situation, but if you're the likes of Matt Busa, Ryan Michael Luza, any of those guys that were trying to get their way up to the front, things just got very difficult for you, and especially looking at some of these other names that are buried in the mid-pack of this field. Ray Alfala, Logan Clampett, Keegan Leahy, Bobby Zielinski is 26th, a lap down. A lot of championship contenders in not great situations here with a caution that's going to bring us back to green flag racing with about 38 or so laps to go.
The 05 going to be the first driver in. The race leaders are at-time race leaders from not all that long ago. You would expect they will also be coming down to the pit lane. Maybe you go for 2 tires, try to limit the damage, but certainly a majority of the car is going to want to come down pit road regardless. We saw just how important the tires were when we saw your race leaders pit only 8 laps into this race. A lot of them, though, taking the 2-tire gamble. Uncontested, in and out, nice and easy for Nick Ottinger, who goes with the 4 tires. Matt Busa, second off of pit road. Taylor Hurst going to be the 3rd car off of pit road. It was a 4-tire call as well for the number 74. And for Matt Busa to get back into position, he goes with 2 tires only to make up some of the ground lost from getting caught out on the strategy. So Busa goes for 2. Ottinger still winning the race off of pit road on 4, but there's a lot of drivers who have yet to come down.
And there's a couple of drivers just behind the pace car and scored in front of your leader, Michael Conti, Colton Davis, and I believe it's Michael Guest. You look at those 3 drivers, I think you have to stay out, albeit you probably don't want to stay out on the tires that you have, but you're going to have to stay out. You're going to have to hope for a caution to really get yourself caught back up and then work your way to the front of the field. They've dug themselves a hole. Obviously, we saw what Michael Conti did on pit road. It's time to dig your shovel because you're going to have to dig out of it and dig out of it quickly if you want to get a top 5 run here.
Yeah, by staying out on track, these drivers are going to be able to get back to the lead lap. So Conti is currently scored on the lead lap because he's in front of your race leader, but he needs to stay out to be able to get the wave around. Conti needs a wave by Davis, Guest, Scott, Overland, Challenger, Zelensky, Richardson, Shelton, Tucker, Letteriello, and Pipgrass are all the drivers who right now run in between your race leader and of course the pace car, which is why the running order appears to be so shuffled up. But it was the number 24 machine, Keegan Leahy, in control of this thing, and was in a fantastic position. He ends up, looks like in P3 for this one. You've got Davies then fourth, Nick Ottinger in the number 5 position, but 27 to Jimmy Mullis right now, currently scored as your race leader, has also not come down to the pit lane. So it's not just cars trying to get back to the lead lap that are neglecting some pit service.
Yeah, this is a handful of interesting strategies unfolding right here, and really unfortunate for those guys that have to take the wave around, because they're basically going to be in terrible situation for the rest of the night. And for someone like Bobby Zielinski leading the points, granted he is the points leader, you don't want to be in this situation and have pretty much a bad race, just a handful of races outside of the cutoff as we get ready to go green.
The lights are out on top of the pace car, and we do get our first good look at the running order for this one. So Mullis and Zach Novak going to be 1-2 in the front row. Keegan Leahy, Brad Davies going to make up row number 2. Nick Ottinger, Matt Busa, 5th and 6th are going to be on row 3, and 7th and 8th, Taylor Hurst and Corey Vincent are row number 4. So a new breath of life for some of the drivers up front as the pace car goes down and in. We got 37 laps to figure out who's going to be in the catbird seat. Green flag back in the air. It's Mullis to turn 1.
Very smooth start for Jimmy Mullis in that number 27 behind the 15 of Novak. Up the racetrack a little bit, Keegan Leahy to the inside. That's going to be the battle for position number 2. Look for Nick Ottinger to try to get out of line here to the inside. He goes. We're going to be 3 wide down into corner number 3. Brad Davies on the outside. Little bobble there. Slide up the racetrack. He's going to lose a lot more than one spot.
To slide up the racetrack, and you got to find a place to get back in line, but it is not smooth sailing. You can see him drop back in a 3-wide situation down into the corner. That's the 36 of Sherburne down low, and the 55 of Schoenberg's going to go around. Caution flag is out, and I think as they dive high and low, it's only the 55.
Let's see what happened here, though. Came from a little bit of contact with the 6 of Ryan Michael Loudon. I think you're right. I think we pretty much kept it. It's a solo car incident. Brad Davies just clipped that 55 of Schoenberg as he went by, but really not that hard. So overall, just one car kind of involved. But this is really great, I think, for those guys that are stuck in the mid-pack that had to get the wave around, because they're going to be able to come down pit road. I suspect everyone from about 14th, 15th on back to come down pit road and get fresh tires. If you're out front, no need, because you were able to come down pit road, of course, during the yellow. But I expect everyone in your mid-pack down pit lane here, because that's the freebie caution that a lot of those guys wanted and were hoping for.
And these late race restarts are certainly going to set us up for some excitement. We'll take a quick opportunity, step aside. We'll come back as we close in 30 laps to go from New Hampshire.
Things can get rough out there.
The bumper to the back of the 24!
You think you got the brass?
I proved it last season.
That was last year. Now we've got young blood ready to take out the old. Start your engines. It's time to race.
And back live from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, RaceSpot TV's coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series. Continuing tonight on the iRacing eSports Network, it is round number 11 of the 2018 campaign. Happy that you're with us. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, Randy Cheneth with you. And Tim, these last 2 yellows, again, completely changing the complexion of the race. It was starting to look like we were maybe going to get that long green flag run to the end. Race leaders committing to the pit lane. But in oh-so New Hampshire style, we got late race yellows and really a completely different race now with a set of drivers up front. A fantastic opportunity here for Jimmy Mullis to capitalize on this. Drivers like Zach Novak, Nick Ottinger up into the mix for sure. If you have not been paying attention for the last 20 laps or so, you might be confused looking at that scoring pylon right now.
Yeah, when you look at Nick Ottinger running in position number 3, yes, Nick's been running up front for most of the evening. Started in position number 3 and was running in the top 5 for most of the evening or around there. And now in position number 3, sitting 8th in the point standings before you factor in the drop. It's a big night for Nick Ottinger. It's a big night for guys like Logan Klampik, Christian Chalner. You look at Zach Novak, won 2 weeks ago. He's up there in 10th place, or check that 11th place in the point standings. This could be a big night for him too when we talk about 3 races heading towards the playoffs. Yes, there are a lot of laps left in this race when it comes to possibly a race that could come out to some quick cautions and some quick green flag runs, but there's a lot to be decided here. But Jimmy Mullis was really smooth on that last restart.
He was very smooth in that control car position. At New Hampshire, you got about 4 seconds or so between when that pace car ducks down and in to when you actually come to the restart line to be able to dictate what happens as you see the lights go out on top of the pace car. So certainly a little bit to play with here, but I think one thing that he's going to be banking on is not necessarily that the 27 needs to get some yellows to win this race. We see some drivers stay out. They have a tire disadvantage, and that's certainly the case, but I think the key here for that 27 is certainly to get good jumps out in front. Something tells me we're going to go through the motions and have a couple of these restarts as we come to take 31 laps to go this time by.
Definitely traditional here in this series. Once we start getting late race cautions, people kick up the aggression and they want to finish as well as they possibly can. I totally agree. I would expect at least 1, if not 2 more yellows by the end of this thing.
Who's going to take advantage of some of those incidents? All of the yellow flags have been just really 1 or 2 cars getting into it. We hope that that trend can remain true. 31 drivers, though, still scored on the lead lap as we come to the completion of lap number 119. From the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, it's a quick pull of the trigger for Jimmy Mullis. Go back under green flag conditions. He'll clear all the chaos to turn 1. Nobody ducking out of line. A lot of 2x2 into the corner.
And there's one of the Chaos crew members on the inside of Keegan Leahy, Nick Ottinger, trying to follow Zach Novak through as they come off of corner number 2. The 05 will set up the 15 down the back straightaway. Watch for Ottinger to work down on Novak as they go side by side down into corner number 3. Matt Busa beginning to work his way back up towards the front, as is the 74. Haven't talked a whole lot about Corey Vincent tonight. He's up in the fray as well.
One of those drivers who had a lot of speed in that race car, started 11th position, but just didn't have that little bit extra to crack the top 5, get in a lot of those exciting battles that we have been following all night long. This is his opportunity to make a difference. The fight for second right now is a good one. Nick Ottinger with the nose in front of Zach Novak. He had him at the line last time, really tight as he pushed up on him into turn number 3. He'll give him a little bit more breathing room that time off for the quarter, but I mean, these guys are squeezing those cars up against the wall, not giving them any extra space.
Yeah, squeezing each other up into the wall and squeezing on one another as well. Is a little bit loose with the 05 there on the entry into 1. Nearly lost it, got into Zach Novak as everyone is still side by side. Keep in mind, you can remember what we saw in the beginning and earlier stages of this race. On restarts, we would see this 2x2 go away pretty quickly and pretty early. Here we are running 3-4 laps into the restart, and the entire field is still side by side.
Side by side throughout. Certainly a lot of drivers concerned that this could be their last good opportunity to get a couple of spots with everybody tightly packed together. So you can see that entire field, about half of the cars on track right now engaged in some sort of side by side contest, but it still all stems from second on back. Novak in front of Ottinger for a moment. They single file out. You can see Hurst in that 74 machine. He goes up to the inside of Keegan Leahy in a 4-car exchange. So everybody going after it as the 15 shoots some more sparks right up against the outside wall to keep Ottinger at bay. Now the 05 tries to cross him up the other way. Looks high that time, can't do it. Tries to go low. The 15's there to shut the door.
The only driver not in traffic right now is Jimmy Mullis. He's got 4 lengths on the rest of the field, and everybody else is battling for at least second on back or battling for some position. Look at Matt Busa, the inside. He's got that speed in the center, has to let off a little bit as Nick Ottinger comes down the racetrack. But man, Matt Busa, what a run that he had. That 34 car has been strong all night long. If this thing goes green to the end, I think that 34's probably got the faster race car, and dare I say that, caution's out.
It's issues with the unit of David Rattler. There is the caution flag. Tim Terry going to get the assist on that one as the yellow flag comes out. Contacted one of those side-by-side battles. It was for 19th and 20th position. And again, we've seen so many times tonight drivers get away with that little bit of contact. This time they didn't. And it looked like that 09 Rattler, you'll see it as they head off to corner number 1, was just a little bit lower entering the corner than what that 83 of Zelensky was expecting. It was very minor contact, but at that point when you're getting hard onto the brakes, the car just snapped sideways so quickly, nothing that Rattler could have done to hang on, and it was very unfortunate timing for Colton Davis, who was right in the middle of the pack. And for the first time tonight, the incident actually has a lot of other casualties in it. A lot of cars trying to get by, get some damage, and that would about 4 or 5 total.
It's really the first big pileup we've seen on the night, isn't it? I mean, that was a hard hit for that car, for David Rattler. He spun up into the outside wall. Then he caught a piece of the 11 who went by, that brought up the right 2 wheels on that machine. And then as Joe Letterello tried to come through, he got a piece of it. Brandon Pitgrass hit the 11 as he was spinning. I believe the one of Marcus Richardson may have gotten involved. It's really the first big multi-car incident we've seen all evening, and a lot of cars got damaged from that one. And I still think we're not done just yet inside of 25 laps to go with seeing that yellow piece of cloth come out.
Handful of drivers come down to the pit lane that time. Nick Ottinger in third, and then everybody else behind him. You had Busa and Hurst all looked like they were going to be coming down to the pit lane. They were down below that yellow line and then decided to duck back out at the last second. Maybe they were trying to bait your race leaders into the pit lane or see if there was enough cars in behind them following them down where you could kind of leave the race leader out to dry. Always a concern if you're in the position that Jimmy Mullis is in, that on the late race restart, you stay out, everybody else pits, or vice versa. You pit and everybody else stays out. Certainly some cars were on pit lane. You see Brad Davies cycling back out onto the racetrack with some fresher tires. He's about mid-pack in 21st position at the moment, but Mullis and that 50 to Zach Novak held true. They didn't even peek at down that pit road.
And Jimmy Mullis out in front has been good on those last 2 restarts and was out in front of the field, and everybody else, as we mentioned prior to that caution, fighting for something on the racetrack, whether it was position number 2 between Novak and Ottinger or throughout the field for 21st or 31st. They were fighting for those positions, but you look at Jimmy Mullis looking pretty good up in front. Matt Busa, though, I think might be the wild card as you ride on board with him under this caution flag. Showed a lot of speed throughout this race and was looking pretty sporty prior to that caution flag as we were getting those green flag laps in.
We're getting those green flag laps in, certainly trying to put themselves in a better spot. You go on board with Matt Busa right now in that number 4 position. Certainly going to have an opportunity to make something happen from the outside of row number 2. But the time we do go back to green flag conditions, you look a little bit further back, somebody like a Ryan Luza, who's been in a very good position tonight, obviously, after starting on pole position, was a top 3 car before that yellow flag in the very winding hours of the pit cycle came out. He got kind of shuffled back in traffic. He'll be on row 4 for a restart. So you have to wonder if these restarts are going to give those drivers enough opportunities to try to make these positions back up, or if everybody's on even tires and you're looking at maybe 22 laps to go or so the next time by. We'll see if the lights go out on top of the pace car, and they do. So you've got about those 22, 21 laps to go the next time we come around. I think this driver's certainly running out of opportunities when you figure you have to expect, a 3-4 lap dash and then a yellow. It's just the way these races go when you're inside of 20 laps. Nobody's going to look at a car a little bit too tight on him off of the quarter, Randy, and say, I'll cut him some space and I'll try to go get that position later. It's an interesting kind of dilemma that you don't want to race too hard to get a yellow, but at the same time, a yellow's coming, you got to race hard and get the spot. It's a no-win situation for those guys mid-pack that are scrapping.
It really is. These guys are going to get really, really aggressive with one another, and right now, if a caution comes out, I think we might be able to, if it goes green from here, starting in the top 10, you might be able to get there. I think if another caution comes out, you have to be in the top 5 already to have any hope of this one.
Pace car to duck down. Is this going to be the final restart on the night as we take 21 laps to go from New Hampshire? And it is all out in front for Mullis. He is clear for the race lead. Blocks behind, though, as Ottinger goes to the inside to shut the door on Taylor Hurst. 3 wide for second for a moment. The 74 really tries to get to the inside. He can't do it, and the 50 to Novak clear for P2.
Something's got to give for position number 3. Ottinger was ready to go on that restart, but Jimmy Mullis was not. Now he's stuck in the middle. Hurst gets into him. Up the racetrack that he goes, and he's going to go around in front of half the field. Are they going to save it? No, they're not. Busa around. Caution flies.
Busa is the only car to really go around. You see Chris Overland also got turned sideways, and the 36 machine of Chris Shearburn. But kind of saw that one coming all the way for the restart there, and it was at 74 Hurst trying on the inside, but by the time we got down to the quarter, it was the 05 just a little bit too aggressive into the quarter, Randy. Right there on the replay, you can see he steps it up the hill, gets into the 34. That's okay. If they're too wide, they survive. That problem is he then comes down on the 74, and he kind of ends up bouncing off of those two cars. He does end up correcting it. The 34 spins out, and then the 36 of Sherburne gets dumped by a number 5 of Michael Conti, trying to dart through traffic. A lot happened there between turn 2 and 3.
Yeah, a lot of craziness there, and a lot of cars slipped through that. A lot of big names lost positions in that situation, and a lot of big names that gained positions in that situation. So up and down the field, a bunch of craziness, and there might be championship implications with what just happened in that little half spin that we saw with the 05 and the 34.
You can see on that angle with the camera on the wall in turn 4 that there was about 3 drivers total that ended up going around. Here's the look on the board with Ryan Luza. There's the contact in front, and car starts spinning high. You got to find a way around. Somehow he banks it outside work. That was a dandy piece to drive it for the drive of the 6 machine.
Looking to the inside, there's another driver that went through that might be okay. Michael Conti in the 5 is once again looking good as you ride on board with the 5 car through this incident, and it's going to come down to the inside. Everybody's going to wreck to the outside. He got Sherburne a little bit. He's got a little bit of right front damage, but we'll see how that handles as we go green. And you know, if we get a couple of those quick green spurts of 1 or 2 laps and then a caution flag, or 3 or 4 and then a yellow flag, it might not be too bad for a guy like Michael Conti who has a little bit of damage. Guys like Keegan Leahy who got through that with a little bit of damage, Nick Ottinger in the 05, it might not work too bad for them. If this thing goes green to the end, 16 laps or so, they might be on the wrong side of the inch, but we've seen it, and we've seen it in the last couple of runs here, Evan, that we've seen some caution flags after a couple of green flag laps.
We've certainly seen that trend start to go that way late in this race as well, specifically, and if you get a couple of restarts, it depends as well on where these incidents are happening, Randy. Sometimes we get these restarts and you see the race leaders going at it. We're having a great battle for the race lead, and you know, somebody 25th to 30th position is going to be the one that brings out the yellow, and it can kind of irk the guys up front. Since we've kind of got into this late race yellow fever, all the contacts coming up towards the front of the field, so these guys are certainly risking a lot. Nobody wants to, you know, kind of sit down, and if they have a chance to go for P4, they're not going to say, I'm okay with P5, I'll just sit here. But you know, you're risking a top 5 finish to go in there and make some of those moves. So they're very important incidents, as you mentioned, with a lot of championship implications when they're happening with these drivers up at the front of the field, as opposed to sometimes where you get all those yellows furthermore towards the back.
Yeah, it is one of those situations. If you're at the front of the field, if you're Ray Alfala, if you're Keegan Leahy, you know, especially if you're one of those drivers that has good race pace but struggles in qualifying, any of the slip angle cars, I think they need to just prioritize a solid finish here. If you're already down in the dumps in terms of your points and need a big buffer to the point, big bolster to your points, go for the win here and try to maximize if you can. But I think there needs to be a mix of mindsets here. Some people need to survive and try to just take what they can get. Other people need to get all that they can get.
And this may be it. Again, we see it every single time. You never know, but going to be one of the final restarts this time through. We will have 16 laps to go. What do we get there? Jimmy Mullis has had to go through this now a handful of times, and so far the 27 has been picture perfect. You have to wonder if somebody like a Zach Novak or Taylor Hurst behind him in third is going to finally catch on and give him a challenge to turn one on one of these restarts. There goes the pace car, though. The 27, very good again. He'll leave the chaos behind to turn 1.
Mullis has been so smooth on these restarts and leaves everybody else to battle for position number 2, but Taylor Hurst has been aggressive before. He drives it down to the inside of the 15 of Novak as they race it down the back straightaway. The 74 put that car to the inside and it's stuck, and there's the yellow flag.
This one's going to come towards the back and spin it on the inside. Matt Bosa just involved in an incident after being up inside of the top 10, and it was gross back here in the pack. How about 6 wide at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway right there? That's just not going to work. And unfortunately, the 34 gets caught out. They were already wrecking behind. The 16, 57, the 11, and Overland all kind of collapsed on one another. And the 54 was just a little bit not clear. And in effect, that's a 6 wide pack coming off the corner. Just a mess of cars back at about 29th position. So I guess that would have fallen to me, Randy, talking about how none of the incidents are happening back in 30th, and then that one does.
Yeah, well done on that one, Evan. We'll have to dock that from your pay for sure. But yeah, you're definitely right. I agree with that for sure. We know people get aggressive here, but to be that feisty, that deep in the field, to be coming off turn 2, 6 wide, is it's a little on the silly side for my thinking. But yeah, we're back under caution again and getting closer and closer to just having a 10-mile run to decide who wins this thing.
I would have to think that there's some frustration involved in that one, Tim. I can't really point the finger at Busa or Overland. Those were the two notable cars that you saw back there, and they were the ones up front, so you would think, pretty frustrated to get kicked back to 30th position or so, but it was also really the cars behind them that got into one another that actually caused that mess. But doesn't matter where you started, doesn't matter how good you've been running, you're getting a lot of yellows, you're running 30th at New Hampshire. I'm sure nobody back there is having a good time, and I think it's just a little bit of frustration that leads to that kind of an incident.
If you're back there, especially with a fast race car, you see that pay window opening in front of the field, you've got to go. You've got to get as many positions as you can, especially if you're on that bubble, trying to make sure that you're on the good side after these next 3 races to lock yourself into the playoffs. You look at it, Matt Busa has a little bit of a cushion. He's got about 30 points or so, minus that drop that they're going to factor in coming in. But Matt Busa right now is at the back of the field. He really can't afford a bad race, because if not, you're in that bubble position coming into those final 2 races before we have the cutoff. We'll see what happens here in these final few laps, but I don't think we've seen our last caution. The sense of urgency back there is continuing to ramp up, but the only person that it's helping is Jimmy Mullis, and I don't want to say helping because there's a lot of strong competition behind him. I think Taylor Hurst, we saw him be really aggressive on that restart. He's going to restart again in position number 3 on the inside of row number 2. If anybody's going to take it away from him, I think it's going to be Taylor Hurst. But Jimmy Mullis has been so smooth on these restarts. This is definitely his race to lose.
As we close in on the end of this one, final portion of tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Blue Def Diesel Exhaust Fluid, the #1 selling DEF in America, and certainly for Jimmy Mullis, it hasn't hurt him yet, Randy, but that yet prerequisite is the concern because, as Tim said, he has been just so smooth on these restarts. These 3-4 car lengths clear every single time. Just for probability's sake, at one point, you gotta think somebody's gonna be able to challenge him off and into the quarter. So if we only had 1 or 2 restarts and Mullis was good on him, runs away with this thing no problem as the lights go out on the pace car, he's going to have to do it again, and at some point asking somebody to nail 6-7 restarts in a row is a pretty tall order.
Well, I mean, it's easy to do it when you're out in front, so for Jimmy Mullis, I think he should be okay. That's definitely the nice place to be, trying to time restarts, but still, it has to be driving the anxiety levels up. If you have any issues with nervousness or anxiety, this is not the situation you want to be in, to be this close to winning one of the biggest races in sim racing and having to consistently have an entire field of aggressive cars and aggressive drivers hounding down your neck. It's fun, but in some ways fun for all the wrong reasons as they get ready to go back to green.
Race car in this time, 27, very familiar as he goes through the motions. This time will complete 139 laps. It'll be a restart coming to 11 laps to go in the New Hampshire 150. Mullis has been butter so far. The 27 Toyota, small hesitation, the right foot down, and again he'll lead to turn number 1. Watch that 74 to Taylor Hurst. He gave it an awful big send the last time at turn 1, trying to get on the inside of Novak. This time he'll only get to the quarter panel. Now he'll be there side by side at a turn 2.
Not as aggressive as a launch that Taylor Hurst had the last couple of restarts, but he made up for it in 1 and 2. Hurst to the inside. The 15 of Novak fights back on the outside line. Look at the 10 dig on the outside. Ray Alfala, little contact there with Luza. They come up out of corner number 4. Novak gets that launch. He'll go to 2nd. Vincent will go to 3rd, and Hurst will try to fight back on that inside line to get that final podium position.
And here's where you'll see those drivers, Randy, going a lot more aggressive into the corners, pushing up, and you almost dare that car on the outside to call your bluff. Either they stay there, they get hit and probably get wrecked, or they move up the racetrack a little bit and settle with you, and then you've got your hands full with a side-by-side fight. Even if Vincent there, a little bit too high. Look at the move by Ray Alfala. He wants to go 3 wide up the middle in a fight for P3. He'll get the positioning, and as we head back down to turn number 1, he tries to split the middle. Still door-to-door, and a caution flag from behind.
That may have even given him the spots. He had the nose ahead, I think. So even though he never got clear, Ray Alfala might pick up a couple spots. Brandon Pipgrass around again here in towards turn number 1. Jarl Tien may be involved. Ooh, that was a big incident down into there for Jarl Tien as they went in towards turn 1. I'm not sure if that 3 car was planning on stopping because he carried a lot of momentum there in towards corner number 1. But huge incident there in towards turn 1. It brings out another caution deep in this thing.
And not happy over the radio with that one is the 3 of Jarl Tien expressing his frustration at Pipgrass. I had to go back to see if anything else came from that, but certainly from the angles we saw, it looks like the 3 machine is laid into the quarter. You can see the 16 machine, Tim. You can see the 8. You can see the 55. You can see all of those cars in front of that group already started to make that transition down low. And the 3 machine not only goes straight, but almost turn up the racetrack a little bit, maybe try to tuck in line behind the 29. But certainly looks like he was the one laid into the corner. But you ask him, it was Pipgrass who caused it.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any sort of incident prior to that or earlier in the race or maybe earlier in the season. Race car drivers don't tend to forget incidents, especially when you're running close together at the end of the race, not cutting each other an inch. But that's definitely an ugly incident for both of those drivers going down into corner number 1. But nevertheless, I'm actually surprised that Taylor Hurst wasn't more aggressive on that move when Ray Alfala made it 3 wide. Ray was the aggressor there. We've seen Taylor Hurst throw the race car around a little bit. I'm surprised he didn't throw it around a little bit more than he did. But you saw Ray Alfala get that position at the scoring loop at the time of caution, and Ray Alfala will be position number 3 on the inside of row number 2 on what's probably going to be the final restart of the night. We saw Taylor Hurst not be as aggressive on that last restart compared to what he and Nick Ottinger on those previous restarts were. They were ready to go and ready to go green, and Jimmy Mullis wasn't. And when they got to Mullis's bumper, Mullis left, all that momentum was gone. Ray Alfala wants to win. He mentioned about getting a top 5 finish. Top 5 finish is nice. He's there, but you dangle that carrot in front of him. I think Ray Alfala is going to be aggressive here on this final restart.
And that big payoff for him was making that move 3 wide. He didn't actually complete the pass, but again, Randy, you saw it as soon as the yellow came out at the point of caution. His nose was in front of the 2 drivers alongside him. Doesn't matter if the car on the outside was going to get a better run off of the corner. Doesn't matter if he was going to get squeezed in the middle 5 seconds later and all those cars crash. At the moment of yellow, Ray Alfala's nose is in front. Therefore, he is scored as the 3rd place car, and all of a sudden has an opportunity to restart on the inside of row 2. And Taylor Hurst, who I thought had a very good car, maybe a little bit too aggressive on some of those restarts, but the last time, great run off of 2 on the restart right there for P2. He gets the short end of the straw, drops 2 positions, and has to restart in 5th.
Yeah, definitely not great for that 74 car there, but fantastic situation that 2 of Ray Alfala. And I'm going to go ahead and actually kind of disagree with Mr. Tim over here. I think the 2 car of Ray Alfala, one of the smartest drivers in this Peak Antifreeze iRacing series. I mean, after all, he's got 3 championships for a reason. He knows the point situation coming into this. And if you look at it coming into this, he was 4 points out of the points lead. Bobby Zielinski in front of him and Keegan Leahy behind, about 15 points. Look around who he's driving with. None of those drivers are anywhere to be found. So if Ray can hold on to this 3rd, 4th position, even if he likes, well, Keegan is sort of close to there, but if Ray can just sort of try to keep that gap opened up, he's pretty much guaranteed the points lead coming out of here.
And that's the question is, do you risk it? Do you go and try to make the move for the race win here? Again, Alfala has been looking for a top 5 for the first time in a little bit. He's been in and out of it all night long. Do you risk that, or do you decide to just kind of hang tight in 3rd and hope that it doesn't get too ugly and you can take the good points tonight? The one thing I can say as the pace car heads in this time to 4 laps to go is this will be the final restart on the night. Doesn't matter if it's barely to turn 1. Doesn't matter if we go all 4 laps to the checkered flag. This is it from New Hampshire. Pace car down for one more time. Mullis getting the door knocked on. He's set sail to turn number 1. Novak going to be uncontested for P2. So the top 2 single file off into the quarter. Alfala trying to get around Vincent for 3rd. He does.
But now Ray Alfala sets his sights on Novak, drives it into the inside line, up off of corner number 2. They'll be single file for the top 3. The 10 of Corey Vincent on the outside. Caution flag is out. That'll end it.
This race is over. Brian Schoenberg and Chris Overland in the accident on the back straightaway, and it was hardly just those two drivers. Looked like it all started with the 54 of Michael Gast, who got a little bit of help from the 12 machine. That was Nicholas Shelton, who pushed up into him. 3 wide, a couple of rows deep mid-pack, and 54 did everything he could, but he bounces off of the wall, comes down in traffic, and that was probably the biggest incident we've seen all night long. It comes back at about 18th position or so towards the back of the pack, and it will end that battle for the race lead up front. Novak, though, again, picture perfect, did exactly what he needed to do, and somehow once more, Ray Alfala in the number 2 car be able to pick up a position with the timing of the caution flag. He'll stay 3rd on this one, but I don't think he got the restart that he would have needed if he wanted to be able to get all the way up to P1.
Yeah, you're right about that one, but I think to be P3, that 2 car is going to be happy. He's going to be, I think, guaranteed the points lead coming out of here. So pretty much the sort of night that the 2 car of Ray Alfala would really like, but the happiest camper on the grid is going to be that 27 of Jimmy Mullis, who pretty much didn't have to work too hard for it the last 30, 40 laps or so. What with all the cautions, somewhat gifted this victory.
And for the 27, again, was given many opportunities to make a mistake. Tim, never happened. He was so good on the restarts. Ray looked awfully amped up for that last one. Was all over the back of the 2, all over the back of the 27 was the 2, beaten on the back bumper. Mullis then takes off and kind of leaves him in the dust behind him. But I think you got to tip the cap to Jimmy Mullis. He had a fast race car. He took advantage of the situation for sure, and when there were plenty of opportunities for him to make a mistake, not get a good restart, push up the corner, being too aggressive down in turn 1, try to get away from everybody, he did not do that. So I think it's a good win for the 27. He's just got to pace around about 1 more lap to make it official.
The first half of this race, completely different than the second half of this race. Obviously, lots of caution flags in the second half as they'll come across now to complete 149 and begin the final lap of the race. But you look at a guy like Michael Conti, who was up in front early. He's going to finish in position number 9, not where he wants to finish this one. You look back to Matt Busa. He had a tough sled late in this race, and he's going to finish well back in this field. But Jimmy Mullis, consistent, solid, and is going to come away with the victory. Zach Novak needed a good run to try to get himself a little bit closer to that playoff cutoff. And for Ray Alfala, I know that Randy's talking about the point lead. That's great. But when we get to the playoffs, that resets. As long as you're in the playoffs, and I think this will pretty much put Ray as a lock, he can go into these final few races before the playoffs and really throw caution to the wind to the point where he can go out and try to go for wins. He'll be locked into the playoffs almost mathematically, I would say, Evan, but it'll be pretty close as they come through 3 and 4.
It certainly has an opportunity to try some different things on the racetrack, try some different things in the setup. There's still a lot of drivers who don't know their playoff fate, but Jimmy Mullis is going to come off of the final quarter at New Hampshire. He'll become the 7th different winner in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series to win from Loudon. It's Mullis in 2018. The 27 takes home the checkered flag tonight, and for Zach Novak and Ray Alfala on the podium.
What a win there, as everyone's going to be doing some celebrating. The 27 and the 15. Put a nice bit of a spurt of momentum here. The 2 car give a congratulatory bump to the rear bumper of the 27. Keegan Leahy comes to give him a shot as well. The 05 almost gets bumper hooked trying to get there also. So a lot of happy drivers finishing up near and around that top 5, top 10. The happiest, of course, at 27 is a field of fans out down the back straightaway. Some trying to get to that 27, and others, I think, just trying to get to pit road as that car is getting beat up by everyone saying congratulations.
Yeah, even by our normal race standards, and with all those yellows in mind, still wasn't one of the longer races of the night, but or of the season, I should say. But the end of the night may have made it feel like that, because it was certainly a rough one for a lot of drivers at the end. A couple drivers involved in 3 caution flags in that final third of the race. But Jimmy Mullis is able to survive all of the congratulations, on top of surviving a lot of late race mayhem, and he'll burn it down on the front straightaway. Your race winner tonight from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Post-race stuff coming up, but let's take a look top to bottom at your RaceSpot TV full race results for race number 11. Mullis takes home the checkered flag after being a top 5 car early on. He's accompanied by Zach Novak, who picks up 15 spots to go to second, and Ray Alfala, who comes home in third on on the podium. As noted, Corey Vincent with the P4 result, and Taylor Hurst rounds out your top 5. We'll be trackside with all of those drivers momentarily. Keegan Leahy just misses out on that, ends up with a P6 result. Ryan Luza able to recover enough. Your pole sitter looked like if this race maybe went down differently a little bit, he could have had a shot at the race win. Instead, it's a P7 for him. Nick Ottinger behind in 8th spot. Michael Conti cracks back into the top 10 with a 9th place result. And the driver who's your biggest mover, Derek Bordeaux, plus 20. He rounds out your top 10.
Got a respectable run there for Andrew Fayash III, going to score in 11th place. Bobby Zielinski, your point leader coming in, is going to be scored as 12th and salvage what he could out of the night. Logan Clampett ran top 10 most of the night, comes home in 13th. Blake Reynolds 14th, Brad Davies in 15th, Christian Chalner in 16th, Ryan Lowe 17th, Nick Shelton in 18th, Adam Gilliland, where did he come from? 19th place tonight, and Casey Tucker in 20th.
Tail of the field, drivers not having the nights they would like. Chris Shearber ended up 21st, Nolan Scott 22nd. Matt Busa, after being the quickest car for about a 30 to 40 lap stretch, ends up in 23rd. Marcus Richardson 24th, with Brandon Pipgrass rounding out the top 25. Joe Letterello, David Rattler, Brian Schoenberg, Michael Guest, Chris Overland, Colton Davis, Yarltien, and Casey Kerwin round out the 33 car field tonight.
Look top to bottom at your RaceSpot TV full race results. We step aside, and when we come back, post-race interviews and more from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Jimmy Mullis takes home the win tonight at a NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series. Post-race is next. You're watching RaceSpot TV on the iRacing eSports Network.
Hi, I'm Marcus Richardson, driver of the #1 Richmond Raceway Toyota Camry, and you're watching iRacing Live.
Section PU 402, row 41.
Jimmy Johnson, the fastest gun in the West.
Section 104, row 4.
Blaney got the first win.
Section 25, row 3.
What a year for Bubba.
Section O, row 25.
Keselowski's going to win at Talladega.
Section 156, row 4.
Kurt Busch to the lead on the backstretch.
Section 233, row 1.
Martin Truex Jr. wins.
You get a seat, but we doubt you'll ever use it. Grab your seats at NASCAR.com/tickets today.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
There we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside of Hershey's off!
Ottinger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up. I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
And back live from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, RaceSpot TV's coverage of the NASCAR PEAK Antifreeze iRacing Series continuing tonight with race 11 on the 2018 season. And we're happy that you're with us for the RaceSpot TV post-race show. Evan Pasoko, Tim Terry, Randy Cheneth still with you. We'll go trackside and talk with the top 5 finishers in just a moment. But Tim, final third of this race, completely different to what we were seeing through the better part of the opening night. A lot of green flag action, green flag pit stops, and then just to change it up a little bit, a lot of chaos late as Mullis goes to victory lane.
Almost 2 different races, the first 90 to 100 laps or so, and then the final 50 slowed down by a lot of caution periods, and it changed the complexity of the race. Don't want to say it changed the winner because Jimmy Mullis was quick in the first half of the race, but definitely changed some of the players that were near the front of the field at the end of this.
And for the first time this season, Jimmy Mullis heads to victory lane in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series, down with the driver of the number 27 Toyota. Jimmy, congratulations on the win tonight. I know that you guys had to go through those restarts a couple of times there late in this race. You guys seemed picture perfect, though. It didn't look like you broke a sweat. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, tonight the car was really good.
We'll try to get the audio with Jimmy reconnected here in just a moment, see if we can clean some of that up. So we'll put Jimmy on standby, and we will see if, I think Jimmy's got the mic working now. Jimmy, you got me? Hey, no worries. You guys have been going at it for better part of 2 hours or so. I'll ask you the same question, of course. A lot of late race restarts. I'm sure you would have preferred to go without them once you got yourself in that position, but you guys seem to handle it pretty well.
Yeah.
Star Wars droid is gone.
It is gone?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I was saying, you know, we just had a really good car tonight. And that's all thanks to Taylor Hurst and Matt Bontempi. I just drove it and just try to be smooth. And then those late restarts, I was kind of, you know, banking on Zach to fight for me. And, you know, he did a great job of that. So big thanks to him. I mean, I'm honestly speechless. I don't really know what else to say.
Obviously, the first 2/3 of this race, a lot of green flag action. Folks spread it out. Pit strategy comes into effect. All of a sudden, you find yourself leading this race. Had a fast race car, no doubt, of course. Started top 5, showed the speed all night. But to kind of go from one extreme to the other, how does that kind of affect you? And obviously, it's pretty difficult to get into a rhythm late when you're only getting 4 or 5 laps or so at a time.
Yeah, I tried to hit my marks, you know, going into one. That was where I was really worried, is because the car would just get really light. And luckily, you know, I didn't have any struggles with it. And 3 is where I was actually shooting the corner a little bit too deep. But it ended up working out. So, like I said, I mean, big thanks to Lockdown, because this wouldn't be possible without them.
Of course, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, a racetrack that always seems to be able to produce different race winners. You're the 7th different driver in 8 years to be able to get a win here at New Hampshire. What was it about this racetrack you think that kind of leaves it as an open book? And late in this race, obviously, control car position put you at a fantastic spot. But when it mattered the most, where did you feel like maybe that 27 was a little bit better to put you over the top?
I just think Matt made really good adjustments, you know, on pit road. I mean, I started off really tight on that first long run, so he got me fixed up. But this track is just somewhere I've always excelled. I feel like it's got that short track feel, which is what I'm normally good with. So I had this one marked on the calendar, as well as Phoenix, and obviously I ran second there this year. So to come out with a win here is definitely a confidence booster heading into the next few weeks.
Those next few weeks are going to determine the running order for the playoffs, and of course, we'll completely reset things in about 1 month's time. But Pocono and Bristol, next 2 racetracks on the docket. What's the calendar say about those 2 for you?
Pocono is actually a okay track for me, but since the repave, I've really come to like it. So hopefully we'll run good there again. I'm expecting we'll have good cars, but you know, I got to do good on my part too. I expect we'll do all right, though. And then Bristol, that's just going to be a toss-up. We'll just have to see.
Certainly everything came together for you guys tonight. First checkered flag on 2018 for the 2017. Jimmy, we'll let you jet out of here. Before we do, though, sponsors and all of those good folks who makes it happen for you.
Yeah, of course. I got to thank, you know, as I've said many times already, Lockdown Racing. I joined them when the season ended last year, and ever since then I've really, you know, they're just a great group of guys. I've enjoyed it a lot, kind of like a family at this point. So to get this win with them, and the 1-2-5 is even, you know, more important. You know, we're trying to get Zach and Taylor in the chase, so I think that helped them a little bit. But also got to thank Racing Virginia, Richmond Raceway, you know, Sim Seats, Picker, everyone that's on this car, JDR Graphics. I mean, everyone that is a part of, my car and just our team in general is just a big help, and it's much appreciated.
The 27 Toyota certainly got a lot of TV time late. Jimmy, congratulations on the win. Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us. Best of luck. We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time. Maybe we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Evan.
Race winner tonight from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Jimmy Mullis, in the number 27, takes home tonight's New Hampshire 150. Just behind him, and Jimmy shouted him out, a great result tonight for the 15 of Zach Novak. Gets a lot of good points in P2. Trackside with him is Tim.
And here's a driver that was in victory lane 2 weeks ago. Zach Novak follows it up with a second-place finish. And Zach, lots of restarts there at the end, and you had a nice view on the outside of those restarts. Talk about trying to time those and try to at least take second place for those guys that were hounding on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm starting to get used to these restarts up front. The 2 wins I have in this series have just been caution-filled at the end, and then that run as well, just caution-filled at the end. I don't really know why, but we just can't go green at the end of the race. But all in all, the car was really good tonight. Taylor Hurst put together a really good car, and awesome to see Jimmy get the win and him finish 5th. And really proud of all the guys at LDR. Second's really good, and I'm really happy to follow up the win with a second, and keep chugging along in the points. We're closing in on 8th. Hopefully we can get there in time.
Now, when you look at those points without the drop, there's, I think, 19 points or something between yourself and that cutoff. Now, it's possible. It's there. How big is that looming in your mind heading into these next few races?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I ran well at Pocono last year, but of course it's the reconfiguration this year, and a whole different story. So I gotta get going on figuring out that track, and really, trying hard to get good finishes these last 2 races going into the playoffs, and hopefully we can make it happen. But if not, this season's been awesome all around, and really happy for everybody behind the scenes that we're putting on results like this.
You mentioned heading into the new Pocono. How big is momentum on this side? Because this sport, stock car racing, momentum is huge. How big is it for you heading into Pocono?
Well, the last 3 races, besides Sonoma, of course, we've finished second or better. So I think we're riding a pretty good wave of momentum right now. And I mean, it's huge in this series. You really got to have momentum on your side to get lucky in some situations and just be able to hold off good cars. And that's what you guys saw tonight is, I just had some momentum and had a little bit of confidence and just held off good cars at the end there. And, at a track like Pocono where it's so technical, momentum's huge. Just gives me a really big confidence booster going in there.
You mentioned the team already. Who's on this race car that helps you out?
Again, I already said it like twice, I think, but really big shout out to everybody at Lockdown Racing. Like Jimmy said, they put in a lot of hard work, and I'm really glad that we're finally getting some results. It's really, really fun to work with them, and they all deserve good results like this, and finally we're getting them. So couldn't be more proud of everybody over there. Matt Bontempi, Taylor Hurst, David Rattler, Jimmy Mullis, everybody behind the scenes. Like I said last race, Logan Sheets and Brandon Coppinger, cop spots for me, and he does an awesome job. And then Logan Sheets did a great job up on the box tonight, calling the shots and got us up front there at the end. Big thanks to simspeedshop.com and Loco Toka Designs for all their support again. And I also want to give a big shout out to my parents because they've really allowed me to put some time into this and really allowed me to chase this as a dream, I guess. And sim racing's a big passion of mine, and hopefully we can take it far, and we'll just see where it goes.
There's Zach Novak, another good run in this series, coming home with position number 2. He's going to be one to watch if he can crack that playoff bubble for those top 8. Another driver that's finally back in the top 5, it's Ray Alfalo. Randy has caught up with our 3rd place finisher.
Yeah, I'm stood by with 3-time. And Ray, sort of a story of 2 different races for you. You started out the race not in a great spot. Let's talk about that early strategy call. You picked up a handful of spots, taking 2 tires earlier on, and car just didn't seem to like it after about 10 to 15 laps of green flag running. Is that how it felt to you? Were you tight? Were you loose? What was the deal?
Yeah, we qualified 10th, and we kind of hung around there most of the race. We were fighting tight, and then we threw the kitchen sink at it pretty much under one of those green flag stops, and then we got a little bit on the loose side, so we went back on the adjustment, but we kind of knew the race would turn into what it did. It's either it goes green all the way, or we get a yellow and then the yellows don't stop. So once that yellow came out and we pitted and we came out like outside the top 10, I pretty much just knew, okay, we have fresher tires than most people, so if we can just make it a few wrecks, we'll be good. And that's what happened. We just ran out of time at the end.
Now, talking about you guys at Slip Angle in general as a whole, talking about the team, it seems like qualifying seems to be your guys' really big kind of shortcoming thus far this season. Main competitors have been the guys at Phenom, the likes of Keegan and Ryan Michael Luza. Was that how it feels to you guys, or do you think it's a race pace difference where you guys are coming short? Because it always feels like the likes of you and Bobby and Overland are trying to run through the field, where Keegan and Ryan are pretty much just at the head of the field, pretty much controlling the race the entire time. Is that what you think has been the shortcoming for your guys' championship thus far?
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're not terrible in qualifying. I think if you just start somewhere in the top 10 or even the top 15, you're pretty close to the front. Mostly we've just been lacking a little bit of race pace in comparison to the guys at Phenom. But, so that's more what we're focused on, is just finding more speed in the race. If we qualify 10th or whatever, we're not going to lose too much sleep over that. But, as the playoffs get closer, we definitely want to, the other virtual racing school car is showing up the 2 Slip Angle VRS cars, so we want to get up there and start the race right with those guys and stay there the whole race.
Thanks for joining us, Ray. Congratulations on a strong run here at Loudon. Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, thanks to everybody on Slip Angle. Again, virtualracingschool.com for a bunch of coaching and data packs and just general information on how to improve your driving. Thanks to Turkey being on the pit box, and Liam for all the the lap times and just general information, and thanks to everyone that tunes in. And there was a lot of action at the end of that race, so I got my popcorn out.
Well, you're probably going to need it. So thanks again, Ray. Good luck to you in the upcoming rounds, and good luck to your teammates at Slip Angle as well. Well, there he was, Mr. 3-time and Mr. Tim Terry with the last interview of the night. You're stood by with that 4th place runner, the 10 of Corey Vincent.
Yeah, great to see Corey Vincent up here in the top 5 at the end of it. Corey, walk us through 150 laps at Loudon, because I know you had your hands full for most of the night.
Yeah, it was a tough one. Man, I don't know what it is, what it's been lately, but we have just had luck on our side. We have not had the best cars this season. We have really been struggling with finding speed in the car, and for some reason lately we have been catching timely cautions that help us out really at the end of these races and getting us good finishes. To come out of this race with a top 5, just extremely excited. Really happy for Peak. Finally got a top 5 finish for Peak. Just big thanks to them for being on my car this season. And I hate it that we haven't been able to run as good as we would have hoped to run. Definitely should be running a little bit better, in a Peak car, but I hate that. But I'll take these finishes. If it's luck, I'll take it. So I'm happy with it.
100 or so laps at the start, mostly green flag, and then we get a rash of cautions at the end. From the driver's seat, after running all those green flag laps, how frustrating can it be to have those cautions mount up at the end?
Yeah, it can be frustrating, but you just gotta, keep your head on, just stay focused, and really just, try to keep the car clean, try not to get wrecked. There at the end, we had fresher tires than some of the guys in front of us, but wasn't really able to do much, and the caution just kept flying, so we couldn't get enough laps to really do anything. But 4th place, I'll take it.
Question is, 2 weeks time, Pocono Raceway, can we do it all again and get back up here in the top 5?
Man, I hope. I would love to go there and run strong and have a good car. And we've been working on it. We've been really we're trying to figure out what we're missing, but we haven't really seemed to figure it out yet. But you know, we'll go to work on it and try to do the best we can. Definitely thanks to the guys that helped me out, Commander Little and Stephen Lutz. They helped me quite a bit during the week. Get the cars, you know, get what we have out of it, and so just big thanks to them.
Well, there's Corey Vincent. Great to see him up in the top 5. Corey, congratulations. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from down here for position number 4. I don't see Taylor Hurst walking around here, Evan, so I guess we're going to throw it back up to you, and that'll conclude the victory lane ceremonies down here.
Yeah, we'll see if he pops in the next minute or so, but a big thanks to Jimmy Mullis, Zach Novak, Ray Alfala, Corey Vincent for giving us some time post-race in this one, and certainly an interesting evening at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The championship picture starts to become clearer and clearer, and I think that we're going to have to start to look less towards the likes of the Alfalas and the Zelenskys and Leahys, and in these next 2 weeks really hone in on Nick Ottinger, Clampett, and Christian Challoner, those drivers right at the cutoff, because you've only got 2 weeks after tonight to qualify into the playoffs. So certainly, Randy, a lot to take away from tonight, but of course, these next 2 races really going to be exciting.
This is in a lot of ways the most exciting time of year for all these championships. This is, you know, when you get to the cutoff for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing series, and it gets tight. World Championship GP series heating up. The 2 World of Outlaw series are getting hot. Rallycross, of course, just starting, and the VRS GT series kind of winding down as well. This is one of the most exciting points of the year for iRacing, and Peak Antifreeze guys really doing their best with all this drama, all this commotion, people struggling to run consistently up in the front. What's the word I'm looking for? The wide representation of talent within this field really makes this an exciting championship to watch. So it's going to be a good one these last few weeks.
You can make sure you don't miss any of our upcoming races, as well as all of the rest of iRacing's World Championship Series, by making sure you subscribe right here on the iRacing eSports Network. Turn the bell on so you don't miss a single broadcast, Tim. We come back in 2 weeks' time to the Tricky Triangle at Pocono, a completely different kind of a challenge, and what we'll be talking about in 4 weeks' time. Bristol is going to be the cutoff race. It's set to be absolutely insane. That one not until August the 21st. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we head out to the Poconos at the Tricky Triangle. That one's the next one out. Should be a fun race as well.
We've seen races there in the past that can go green. We've also seen races in the past there that can have a few caution flags. But you looked at that championship point scenario. You look from 4th place on back to about, let's say, 13th, where Jimmy Mullis is, who just won here this evening. There's a lot of drivers, when you factor in the drop, that could be on the outside looking in. You look at that first page. You've got 309 points for Matt Busa. Those top 3, they look pretty comfortable right now with 2 races to go. Nothing is impossible, but those 3, Ray Alfala, Bobby Zelensky, Keegan Leahy, look pretty comfortable right now. From Matt Busa all the way back to the second page where Jimmy Mullis sits at 262 points. That's where I think your bubble drivers are going to come in. You've got, 4 spots, 5 spots there, and about 8 drivers or 9 drivers battling for it. Pocono's going to change a lot, and definitely Bristol is going to change a lot. We'll see what happens here as we continue to work forward in this season. I'm excited to see those guys in the top of that second page pour on the pressure.
Got 2 more races to do so. We get set to wrap up the regular season in the next couple of weeks. But until then, round number 11 of 2018 falls into our rearview mirror. On behalf of our entire team at RaceSpot TV, for myself, Evan Pasoko, Randy Jenneth, Tim Terry, our director, Hugo Louise, for everybody else who makes these broadcasts possible. The camera angles provided by Istvan Ballo, Broadcast CG, that's Kevin Papey, Simon Grossman, and their team. Andy Werder on the graphics for Will Vinton, Hugo Louise, Drew Adamson, Cisco Scaramuza, and everybody else at RaceSpot TV and iRacing. We want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Jimmy Mullis, your race winner tonight in the New Hampshire 150. We'll take our off week. We'll come back Tuesday, August the 7th from the Pocono Raceway. That race and every race at the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series can be found right here on RaceSpot TV and on the all-new iRacing eSports Network. Until next time, though, good night from New Hampshire, and we'll catch you in the Poconos for round number 12.